why you kicked someone out when you found out they were Israeli? Why did you?
They were a baby killer. Now fuck off. Fuck off. Excuse me.
Do you always ask people with ethnic accents where they come from?
You don't. Leave me a review.
Do you always ask people with ethnic backgrounds?
My business.
Do you always ask people with ethnic
backgrounds? My business. You're trespassing.
I need my deposit back. I need my deposit back.
Right, you'll do it through the interview.
No, I would like my deposit back. I'll leave with my deposit back. You kicked somebody out. Do you know that's against the law to kick somebody?
It's not, actually.
The Racial Discrimination Act? Based on nationality?
Israelis aren't a race.
Nationality.
Yeah, but the police are here watching over everything that's happening as well. Come up the street a little bit here and you can see there's two groups gathered here. You've got the Free Palestinian side, the pro-Palestinian side. On the other side, you've got a small group of Israelis there. They're from the community. This is most likely their neighborhood.
We don't go to anyone else's area to cause a fight. We need to be here to stand for our people, because if not, we don't stand here. The police aren't protecting. They're praying, they're saying in Arabic, calling for the death of Jews, the death of Yahuds, the death of all of these people, and the police just stand here and don't shut us down.
So you're siding with Jews against your own people?
You're not his people.
Aren't you a white Australian?
Jesus is his people. Jesus was a Jew. Out.
Let's go, mate. Let's go, please. Let's go.
Don't put your hands on.
Yeah, well then just go.
Don't put your hands on.
Leave our event.
Islam has no place in this country, and neither do the Jews.
Why?
Hebrews 8. Have you read Hebrews 8?
Hands off me, I will leave. You're going to be breaching the police.
Candace Owens says the court called her a man, but you haven't fact-checked Candace Owens. Why?
I mean, to be honest, I have watched the documentary of her breaking down. Like,
Stop pivoting.
Yeah.
On the thing that she said in court,
Yeah,
I heard
no,
that.
fair enough.
She told you. She told you the court classified her.
Yeah.
Bridget Macron a man.
Yeah.
They didn't. So why do you keep listening to someone who every single episode lies to you?
I genuinely believe that she is the biggest truth teller ever.
Do you ever fact check her?
I like to think that I watch enough media.
No. Do you ever fact check her when she tells you, go and check my source? Do you ever do that?
I mean, I think that she provides.
Do you ever go and look at her sources that she says to you to check?
I like to believe, and to be fair, to be fair, this is like a very fair argument. To be fair, like you have, to be fair, like you have got me to an extent. I'm not ashamed to admit that.
OC spray has been deployed. So someone just lunged at this community here.
You've justified October 7th. So I want to know. You're saying that there's a genocide happened here. So would you justify? Do you think Australians have asked for it as well? You said Israel. Look at history.
No, the British have. Yeah, absolutely.
Australians, you're white Australian. Did you ask for it?
You don't know my ethnic background.
Sure. Do you think white Australians ask for it if they get attacked by Aboriginal terrorists? Yes or no? Looking at history, using your own logic.
Tell me what the attack looks like.
You need to know what the rape, the beheading, the kidnap. You want to.
Anyway, I've had enough. Please leave me alone.
Mate, you've come here to an event condemning anti-Semitism. Why would you do that?
Mate, can you tell him to leave me alone? Like, I'm happy to just stay here, but can you get this guy to leave me alone?
He's trying to do the old snitching trick that I taught him last time we met. He was already arrested.
Was that you? All right, mate. You're under arrest. Sorry to move on.
I am home. I am home. I am home. I am home. I'm with my people here. I'm with my Australians.
What do you want to do, man?
I'm home.
I'm with you.
I'm home. I'm Australian. I'm home. I'm Australian.
One of us, Rukshan.
I'm Australian.
One of us.
Look at you guys. Look at you guys. I'm Australian. Cowards.
Matthew, you say you stand by everything. You still stand by.
Do you still stand by Israel targeting hospitals? You said Israel targeting hospitals,
Leave me alone.
but you fueled the anti-Semitism. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. What you've done to Jews in Australia, you didn't leave us alone. You made Israel, you demonized Israel. You said that they were targeting hospitals, which is illegal under international law. You fueled the anti-Semitism in Australia. Do you want to apologise? Do you not think that the ABC should be defunded? You stand by reporting that Israel broke international law by targeting Hamas terrorists. You admitted they're terrorists.
Please leave me alone. I have said what I've said to you. Please leave me alone.
You should hold your head in shame, mate.
Please leave me
your
alone.
head in shame.
Please leave me alone.
You are the reason.
You seem to have done a lot of stuff for women, is that right?
Sure, and gender equality was one of my central issues at the last campaign.
What is a woman, though? Can you define it?
I think we're done.
Do you condemn rape under any circumstances?
Yes.
So will you condemn Hamas?
It's a tragedy what happened.
Should it be condemned?
I'm not going to answer that.
Why not?
Because I feel like regrettable is good. I don't support either of them.
You're not interested in voting Hamas? Hamas bombs, are the rockets environmentally friendly? Look at that, he's getting a proper photo. It's almost like we had a government plant here, part of the Mossad ready to feel...
Indoctrinate.
No, he's already indoctrinated, but to capture the moment properly.
And this is the material we need to control them for the rest of the time.
This is the photo that they're going to use every single time now. Oh
You're
my
a
God.
Zionist.
A Zionist?
We all know you are.
You don't even know how to say them. I know you don't read. We already worked that up.
You're good, aren't you?
I am
Can't read.
You got to get off the crack, bro. Do you support the Australian Army?
Yes, I do.
Are you proud of the Battle of Beersheba?
Sorry?
I didn't think you know.
What do you
Go
mean
read a
I'm not-
book, brother. Come, let's talk. Let's have a chat. I like people who don't like me. Where are you, brother? Which one? Hey, bro. Let's talk about it. You want to talk about my...
I don't want to.
Oh, why? What are you afraid of?
I don't want to talk to you.
You don't want to talk to me? You want to shout at me?
I don't like it. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right, so what's your problem with me?
I think you're a Zionist, so I don't like it.
I am a Zionist. Do you know what a Zionist is?
I think I do, but can you tell me what...
No, but you're saying you don't like me because I'm a Zionist, but you don't know what a Zionist is.
Well, I think I know what it is, but what do you think
So
it is?
tell me, I know what it is because I am one. So you're calling me one with a negative
I don't
connotation.
want to talk to a Zionist.
What's a Zionist?
I don't like
What's a Zionist?
Don't know.
You're a capo. You're the ones that the Nazis used to perpetrate crimes against Jews. You're the ones that racist uses. Don't touch me.
Get off the mic.
Both of you. Don't go anywhere. Move away. Both of you don't go anywhere.
Now that I'm a Zionist and you don't like me because I'm whatever, what is it? Is it? What's a shill?
You.
What is it? What does it mean?
You're a shill.
What does it mean?
No, I'm done now. I'm done.
You're literally the dumbest person in this crowd.
The Lord is my shepherd.
Come from this side.
I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still water. He restores my soul and leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
There's a drone.
תנסו להוריד אותו, יש למישהו נשק, תירה בו! תירה בו! I got it. למה אתה לא יורה? למה? got no visual. זה מעלת מתאבד, הוא יורד עכשיו. מי עומד? זה מישהו אחר מאנטארקטיקה.
So join with me in this video. Please sing this with me, okay? Avi Yemini's a wanker. Avi Yemini.
join in that chant?
Yes.
You did join?
I certainly did.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, it was great. Tommy's a brilliant guy.
Avi is awake!
Get Avi!
Do you reckon it's going to catch? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special live stream. Rukshan, firstly, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, considering all the things which are going on. I'm doing pretty good. So, yeah, good to be here. Hi, everyone.
It does feel like something big is about to drop. So, guys,
possibly.
We're starting the live stream a little bit earlier because what we have is in about 40 minutes from now, the Australian Prime Minister is addressing the nation. That was announced before Keir Starmer also announced he will be addressing the United Kingdom, and that's going to happen an hour after Albanese addresses the nation here. So what we're going to go from the Prime Minister here, get a bit of the reaction, and then go to the UK. I'm assuming we'll have a bit of an idea of what the UK, what Starmer's going to say. After that at 10 a.m. their time. And then Trump is supposed to be also addressing the nation, but I think that's much later. To be fair, in the beginning of the day today, I thought when this was announced that this was, and people who were watching the live stream or as we were setting up, as we were preparing for it, we had a meeting and we were deciding which angle to go from, as in where do we think this is leading, and everything pointed to this being about the fuel crisis here, and fuel rations was my assumption to what this was going to be about. Like COVID, it had that eerie sense, on the first announcements in COVID back in 2020, if those of you who recall, sorry for bringing up the PTSD, that was the feeling that this has, like a special address.
Well, it's the first time since I think Scott Morrison did an address to the nation during that COVID era.
And before that was Iraq.
Yeah, before that was Iraq. So this is and I think the GFC before that. So this is the first time really that we've had this address to the nation. And I think the Prime Minister is addressing the nation via TV stations as well as all radio stations. So everything, everywhere. So there's a few things to do with that. And obviously, there's a significance in that. Now, I know you have, we can talk about the theories of what we think it is beforehand. We have that luxury, like you said, because we started a little bit earlier. And I have my theories as well. And, I've been listening to Parliament all day as well. And
I've got a couple of the clips up there, but I want to hear your theory before we get into it. And as usual,
I still like to think that it is not as complicated as it seems right now when we're seeing the announcements from Keir Starmer and possibly Donald Trump tomorrow making an announcement as well. Perhaps it's unrelated and it's more of a domestic. I mean, it's not domestic in when you consider it's all about the Middle East crisis that's happening. But domestic as in it's more related to Australia, the Prime Minister's announcement. But, I mean, the coincidences here, the timing of things does make me wonder a little bit that there might be something else. But I still think that it is more of like a domestic type announcement for the Australian public.
All right,
it's not related.
Let's take a bet on this.
See.
Let's bet $100, you or me. You think it's just something domestic?
Yeah, I think so. Like international implications, but
let's just make it clear boundaries, and we've got the audience here as witnesses. $100. You say it's something domestic, as in you would think it's just what I thought it was originally about the fuel crisis here in Australia, and either restrictions or something about preserving.
I think a message around Australians just kind of acknowledging that there's this issue going on, and that we should be coming together and pulling our arms up or whatever, pulling our sleeves up and doing the right things by, ourselves and our neighbors and, preserving fuel, that type of announcement. I think that's still what it is. I'm going to go with that just to have a point of difference with you, Avi. But yes, there has been there has been a curveball.
No. I don't want you to
My mind does wonder.
You take whatever position you want. Don't take one for me. What's your position? Because I was with you a few hours ago. If I had to guess, I was going to say fuel rations was on the table. I thought it was beyond just everybody pulling up their sleeve and encouragement to the nation. I think that was going to be the way in which they started, just like in COVID, when they first announced the first restrictions, they did it as like, we are all one, this is us, we're all in this together. I was expecting that, and then it was going to be, and by the way,
just to make sure that, there are naughty Australians out there doing the wrong thing, taking too much fuel. So we're going to make this first restriction. And it was going to be the first announcement what I feel like was going to start opening the door to more and more restrictions as the problem became bigger. Because unfortunately in Australia, both governments from both sides have let us down. We have no fuel reserves. It turns out we have about a month. We are really genuinely screwed here of the government's making. Now, a few hours ago, I agreed with you. But then as soon as I saw Starmer and Trump also announce addressing the nations, I'm quite confident that it goes beyond just our borders. And also you have to look chronologically what's happened in the last, 2 days. We had 3 days ago, Trump sniping at Albanese for being what he was essentially saying a bad friend, not willing to help Trump in whatever his endeavors are, not being there when he wants him. And then yesterday, absolutely blasting Starmer. And I think that's probably because they expect more from Britain, and Britain has more, or should have technically more to offer within military capabilities to help the effort. And Trump came out in Truth Social and said, if you want oil, you know what? You have two options. Go get it yourself from the Strait of Hormuz, or come and buy it off us. That's what Trump said. Like it, love it, hate it. I know people feel all different ways about all of these things here. But that was the position he took. And then suddenly, Albo announces he's addressing the nation, and Starmer an hour later is addressing the nation. And then later in the day, Trump says he's addressing the nation with an important update in the war. I don't think this is a massive bow to draw. I think that absolutely AUKUS is doing something. What is it? Is it a joint operation where they're committing to take the Strait of Hormuz, to protect the Strait of Hormuz, to secure it, to ensure that that our oil can get through? That's my guess, but I think it's something to do with that. The nitty gritty, I get. I don't even know if we'll know that at the end of this thing, but I'm betting $100 with you. It's not just something of national interest within our borders here in Australia. It goes beyond that. Are we on for the bet, or are you not that confident anymore?
We're on for the bet. Yeah.
And Australian dollars. I don't want none of those shekels you've been cashing in lately.
Yeah, about that anyway.
Australian, 100 Australian dollars or American dollars. I'll take. That's fine.
All right, man.
Guys, welcome to the live stream. There's about half an hour till the speech. We're going to run through some of the, some of those videos from Parliament that you picked up today. In the meantime, share out the stream. Let this be the place where people watch the. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, definitely share it out. Share out the link. Get it out there. We were meant to actually go on Instagram as well, but Avi stuffed that up. So next time when we do the show, we'll be on Instagram. But yeah, definitely share out the link. We'll be watching the address, and I think it's more interesting to watch it this way than just watching it on ABC or something like this. We can get live feedback from the comments of everyone that's watching, and we'll also react to the reactions that people have to the announcement afterwards, depending on what it is. But about what happened in Parliament, I think it's important to understand that one of the main things that the opposition at least had, the main gripe they had today with Anthony Albanese is, why didn't he make this announcement or these plans known in Parliament today? Because today is actually the last sitting day of Parliament for the federal Parliament until mid-May. So the opposition was arguing that Anthony Albanese was avoiding scrutiny and accountability of what he plans to say. And one of the things they've also mentioned is that apparently this address that he's giving is not even a live address. This is an address that apparently is pre-recorded. It's a few minutes long, and it's a message to the Australian people. So they're saying if it's pre-recorded, if it's known what he's going to say anyway, why couldn't he have been upfront with Parliament today and address the Parliament as well as address the public and share the sentiments of what he was going to say? So
here we'll
there
watch
is speculation around that.
We'll watch that clip from Parliament. This is from the Context News. It's actually become the best source for these clippings on social media. Really been loving the clips that they're doing. So guys, make sure if you're on what platforms are they on? X and
Facebook.
X and Facebook. The Context. Check out. They have the stuff as it comes out. I don't understand how they do it so quickly.
Tonight's message has been pre-recorded. The Prime Minister has already recorded the national address to the country that will be broadcast at 7 p.m. tonight. If that is actually the case, then we must know why the Prime Minister has sought fit to record a message that he would not make from the dispatch box in the other place. What does he have to hide if that is actually true? And if it is true, then it is shameful. If it is true, the very next time we come back here, he must answer to every single one of us why he refused to stand up in his spot as the Prime Minister of our country and at the dispatch box tell the whole country what has perhaps already been pre-recorded and will be shown to Australians at 7 o'clock tonight.
Well, that's the kind of the point that I was making. So that makes me think there could be a curveball there from Anthony Albanese, something that he didn't want to have discussed in Parliament tonight.
I think it might even go beyond that. I think that it's probably a prearranged statement between him, Starmer, and Trump. And
you're really doubling down on this, aren't you?
I'm doubling down. I'm almost now at this point. I'm almost sure that's my prediction that it's certainly something beyond just the fuel crisis here. I think he's going to talk a lot about that because that's obviously what's Australians are most fearful of at the moment. You know, besides the price of petrol is just whether we have enough petrol, and it's a real concern, and I'm concerned about it. It's a genuine, and we all have good reason to be concerned because Australia doesn't have much oil. We will not last much longer. Guys, what we're going to do is we're going to read the super chats as usual. So thank you in advance for all the super chats. We'll get through them between, so we obviously won't interrupt speeches, and we'll get between them, but we'll get to all of them before we shut today. We've got the Prime Minister of Australia, then the Prime Minister of the UK. So those super chats help us do what we do, helps cover the costs, and we appreciate it more than you know. Andrew says $5. Thank you. Sheba dog saying, "Hey, you greeting joyfully." Sheba.
I think it's a emoji. That's why it's a Shiba dog saying.
Okay. Yeah, we don't. The emojis don't come through.
Yeah.
So, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Even Malat says, "Hey, Ravi, it's going to be another lockdown." Ivan Malat. Hopefully, it's not another lockdown. But
there is another video there, Avi, on the context. We have Anthony Albanese actually answering a question from opposition leader Angus Taylor. So if you can play that next after the super chats as well.
Yep, we'll do that after the super chats. We have Omar says, useless leadership. Look, I'm not going to judge Albanese yet until we actually see what this address is, what he's going to say. Useless leadership, you can put generally out there. Absolutely agree with you. The fact, even if he is suddenly joining, and this is the point, if Australia is actually joining in any capacity the war effort, even if it is just to secure the Strait of Hormuz, remember, not as bad as the UK, who made it very clear that he's not getting dragged into Trump's war. So this is an embarrassing backflip if that's true for them. But even in Australia, Albanese was pretty straightforward with the fact that we weren't getting involved. So it would be some sort of backflip. But to be fair, I don't think Australia has much of an option, to be honest. We are so reliant on America, for good or for bad. The fact is, we, even when it comes just to the oil, we're not self-sufficient. We don't have oil. We actually need America to save us. And that might be what Trump is saying. Trump is saying, all right, you can have some of our oil to get you through so you survive, but you've got to do what an ally does, and you've got to be part of this war effort. Maybe. We're so screwed on so many levels. And then on top of that, it's what Pauline Hanson said, the truth in what Pauline Hanson said the other week that was taken out of context, that in Australia, if we don't have America, we've got no friends. And yes, it might be easy to say, okay, I want to stand by and watch this one, but America does not need us in this case. The Strait of Hormuz doesn't even affect them because they have their own oil, so they'll survive. It affects us more, but at the end of the day, one day we're going to need the states. And if we sit this one out, we've never sat one out before, but imagine we sit this one out and this is the one that they go, okay, well, why should we come to your defense when China decides to take Darwin? Why should we help you? You didn't, when it mattered, you didn't come. Even though historically it did. We've always come to America's defense. And there's a reason for that, because every prime minister historically understood that we need that alliance. That no matter
and
whether...
Really, America is one of the only allies that we have that would take preemptive style action to protect Australia. We have the allies in Europe, the UK, and so on. But a lot of those countries, they all default to the UN and all these kind of, general practices of getting approvals and things like this. But often that's too late, depending on what's going on. And you've seen the Americans for so long, strategically, especially the presidents of America, use their presidential executive power to enforce world order as it pertains to protecting the interests of the West, even especially the US. But we're a part of the Western Australia, and you can see just how much something like this in the Middle East, even though it's only accounts for 20%, I believe, of the oil supply of the world, how much it impacts us here in Australia. And if you want to pretend, you can pretend all you like that we're not connected to these issues, but we are. And it's really just down to whether you want to allow rogue actors like the regime in Iran to dictate our lives with these actions. Now, people can argue that this has happened because of the US and Israel's preemptive strikes on Iran. But you have to understand that this could have happened at any time. It could have even been way worse than this. And do you really want a rogue actor like that with the possibility of doing something like this, to putting our lives in this position? And I personally don't want that. And I'm grateful in the sense that we do have a strong president in the US that is willing to stand up for the West and set the terms for these rogue nations, that this is how it's going to be. And we've got 2 more years of Trump. It's very hard to see in the future if another US president would have been willing to do this, unless it was too late. So I think this preemptive action in that region overall in the future will benefit the West.
I agree. I think that to be honest, I'm conflicted about this. I don't want Australia to get involved in this war, but I understand why we would have to. Nothing to do with Israel, to do with America. I don't think Israel's calling anyone to join the war. Israel's doing their own gigs there, and sometimes it's mostly aligned and in coordination with the US, but sometimes not. They've got their own strategic reasons, and so does the Gulf states. I love people who blame Israel. The ones that are getting away quietly on all of this are the Gulf states that are encouraging Trump to do this, because they understand that Iran is their long...
They want this. They want normal relations with the West. They want to be able to trade with the West. They want to be able to travel, have free travel in that area. They don't want to have these rogue, proxy states being sponsored by Iran and destabilizing the region. The Middle East and Gulf states, they're interested in doing business with the West and making money. And, they very much see Trump as an ally in that sense, in doing that. And Trump sees them the same way. So I think they're all on board. It's just really the West, which
I think you make a good point as well. I think you make a good point as well. That
I was going to say, we had France the other day. Of course, they surrendered before it even started, but they disallowed US planes from using their airspace for military operations, in the sense of just like refueling or whatever they were doing in that airspace, getting supplies into the region. They disallowed a US plane to fly over France. I mean, that is the Islamic Caliphate of France. That's what that place is turned
good luck.
into.
And all those countries, all those European countries are going to fall without America. They're all going to fall without America. So we've got Anthony. Thank you for the super chat. Even if wrong mouse. We got here Anthony, who says it's all Trump's fault. We have Anthony adds, I keep telling you. Look, I agree. When you say it's all Trump's fault, I think Rukshan's point before is actually super important, and it's a good point, because when you think it's bad now, which it is, I've got to fill up my crappy little car. I've never paid so much for petrol. My wife has a car that's a bit bigger, takes a bit more pay. It's killing all of us, and it's costing us in all. But the point is that if you did this in 10 years' time, where Iran could do far more damage and shut everything completely. And they had the range of missiles that could shut down more than just the Strait of Hormuz and all that. Things would be a lot worse then. So I think you have to look at it in the context of what we have to deal with now. Trump has decided, and I love people that are talking about this being, Israel in the comments there, Israel made Trump do it. Dude, I'll bring it up on the screen. Trump has been talking about this since 1987. He's been talking about taking this. I'm going to pull it up. Let's actually let's watch what we were saying.
What people say is, before you play that out, Avi, a lot of people will say, well, Trump said no new wars. And it's true. Like, Trump did consistently make that claim that under his presidency, very unlikely to have, those kind of wars that we're used to. But what have we seen from Trump? Let's look at the Venezuela action. This kind of military operations are almost flawless. Even in this instance, besides the propaganda that we're seeing coming from that region, the US has decapitated the Iranian regime's military capabilities. Most of their leadership, from the Ayatollah down, is dead. So you're talking about people claiming victory in a country where all its leaders are dead. Like, we're seeing insane levels of propaganda being promulgated in the West from these kind of Middle Eastern nations that support Iran, from other Muslim majority nations that support Iran, and Westerners are buying up. Like, Westerners are buying it up. They hate their own country. They hate their own leader.
It's embarrassing.
When they're actually effectively decapitated the Iranian regime. It's weird to see that people buy into it, but they use the Trump argument that he said no new wars. But you have to understand that you cannot hold a US president to those words if there is a national security threat. He cannot turn around and be like, hey, I said there's no new war, so
but he also, it
doesn't matter. You have to act.
I like how everyone picks the no new wars and they ignore everything else that he once said about Iran specifically, and the other slogan that he kept campaigning on, which was peace through strength. And this is what he's saying this is. He's saying this is peace through strength. We're going to fight this out. We're not going to, he says it's not going to be a forever war like the other wars. And I believe him. There's no way this is going to be a forever war. And so this is what he's saying. His justification for that is that this is Iran that since 1987, let's watch.
Because I'm running for the presidency. I'm here because I'm personally tired of seeing this great country of ours being ripped off.
But as far as Trump is concerned, our allies are only part of the problem. The real culprit is Iran.
Why couldn't we go in and take over some of their oil, which is along the sea?
How would you do that? Would you send in the Marines? Would you take a chance in a war?
Let them have Iran. You take their oil. That's what
How?
How?
I mean, do we want a war? What do you mean we take their oil?
You go in. You're
how
have
do
a
we
war,
go
Barbara.
in?
You're going to have a war by being weak.
Okay, how do we go in? What do we do?
Excuse me.
Yeah?
You're going to have a war. And it's going to start in the Middle East.
What if the Soviet Union said, you do this to Iran, we're going to come in?
I don't believe they'd do it. The next time Iran attacks this country, go in and grab one of their big oil installations. And I mean grab it and keep it. And get back your losses, because this country has lost plenty because of Iran.
And to be honest, I think that's what he's about to do. That's my prediction. I don't know if that's part of what Australia's going to be. I think Australia's going to be part of, just guessing, a coalition, AUKUS, that's going to commit to protecting the Strait of Hormuz. There is breaking news in the last hour, which is what I thought we were going to head towards broadly, which is WA declares a state of emergency to force fuel companies to divert supplies where they are needed. That's where I did initially, and that's what you were kind of alluding to. That's where I initially thought we were going to be talking about. Let's watch that video that you got. Guys, I will get to all the super chats. Thank you so much for everyone who's giving us super chats and supporting our work. But we'll watch some of this content between it. We've got about 15 minutes till the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, is set to address the nation. This was today in
Melbourne, I quote, "Fuel supplies have not been disrupted. Tonight, the Prime Minister will deliver an emergency address to the nation. Prime Minister, what has changed since yesterday?"
Give the call to the Prime Minister. Nothing has changed since yesterday. Neither this government's resolve to deal with issues of supply and cost of living or the opposition's approach to these issues, which are outlined in their talking points that are out there for all to see. They're talking points that suggested rather than act responsibly, what they would do was talk up issues that are facing Australians. The issues are real. The war in the Middle East is real.
Order. Members on my left would just allow the Prime Minister to update the House on this issue. Order.
The war in the Middle East is absolutely real, and that is why I certainly agree with the statement, which is real as well. Well, I'm actually talking to Andrew Hastie, the Deputy Liberal Leader in the House of Representatives, said this, and this will be consistent with what I will say tonight. This is where every Australian has to just keep calm and carry on, do what they can to look after themselves and their neighbours. We've got a lot of oil and gas and other precious commodities trapped in the Persian Gulf behind the Strait of Hormuz. So until the war is resolved, we're going to feel supply pressures. That was real when the member for Canning said it. It's real when every member of the government understands it. But it's also real to say that every single shipload of fuel that was due to come here in March arrived on schedule. That's right. That is absolutely true. And what is required at times like this is to be considered, be orderly, work through issues, not to pretend there aren't challenges, and the government doesn't pretend that. They're being faced by the entire world, whether it be issues of supply down the track or whether it be income pressures that are on people, which is why we've acted on both of those issues in a responsible and orderly way, which is how my government operates.
Yes. So, I mean, from those statements, Avi, it seems like it's kind of a very ordinary type of announcement in terms of what you've been saying would be happening, because he's saying we're just going to talk to people and tell them, be calm.
You might be right. I find
carry on as it is.
I find it too.
So unless he's really good at bluffing and playing it cool, that was kind of the sentiments shared by Penny Wong, the foreign minister in the Senate, and other Labor MPs as well. They weren't acting like there's going to be something more.
We've got $100. We've got $100 on it. The point that I find, and I was with you this afternoon until I saw that Starmer is addressing the nation an hour later, and then Trump in their morning. The only thing that makes me question my theory is the fact, and my friend just pointed it out, so this isn't my own original thought. Somebody's just messaged me saying that, and I accept what they're saying, although I think that there may have been a strategic discussions between AUKUS, is that Trump wouldn't let Albanese and Starmer take the limelight out of the announcement of he's dragged them into it as well, which is true. But we don't know exactly what it is. I guess our bet really was the difference between it being something just about what you're talking about, calming the population, it being about the fuel, telling everyone we're cool, we're just going to have to work together, we're in this together. Maybe some sort of restriction around fuel. That's what I originally thought it was until I saw Starmer and Trump both scheduled now to speak to their nations. But in about 13 minutes, we'll start to get, although probably not, because he's going to waffle for a bit about, he's definitely going to waffle about the things you're talking about at first. And then he's going to get into the meat of whatever it is. And like, remember, there hasn't been an address like this from a Prime Minister since COVID, since the start of COVID, and then prior to that was Iraq and the global financial crisis. So there's only very few times in our lifetime that this happens. Yes. An announcement, a press conference to try calm people down and tell people that we're going to work together, I feel like he could just do in the day and it'll run on the night news. This is just the announcement that he's addressing the country has raised people's
well, I mean, it could be the
stress
fact
level.
that it could be the fact that Parliament is not sitting for a few weeks, and Albanese wanted to get ahead of all the things that are being said by the Liberal Party and all these kind of stuff, and just put a message out there to the nation and make himself the center of attention in terms of we are doing this for the Australian people, and it's prime time, 7 p.m. and it's a big deal. Everyone will be tuned in listening to the Prime Minister. But like you said, it's very significant. And something that Alex Antic said, Senator Alex Antic from the Liberal Party, he said, this is on his X, he said, my suspicion is that tonight's address by the Prime Minister will be a softening up exercise. Some of us have been warning of a future of monitored energy restrictions for years, starting to sound less and less like a conspiracy theory every day. Now, I don't know about the rest of what he said, but the first paragraph there, the first sentence, this is a serious thing that's happening right now in Australia. Like, even though it doesn't appear like that, it could be softening us up for something down the track, right? Preparing people's minds. And, whether it's restrictions on fuel, rationing, whatever way you want to take it. The fact that we've also now had the Western Australian leader enact these emergency powers in Western Australia makes me think, especially after they had the National Cabinet meeting where all these states got together with the federal government, that there is more going on in terms of supply. And even though we do have these ships coming in, and they've talked about the ships which are coming in with oil, you have to understand the lag that's built into all of this. And even if Trump does make an announcement today and ends the conflict and says 2-3 weeks, the US is wrapping things up, which is he said that it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks. It doesn't mean everything goes back to normal. What we're looking at is potentially months of this particular issue before it gets back to normal. And Australia doesn't look prepared for it. So it could be a softening up exercise to kind of get ready for whatever scenario takes place. And, Anthony Albanese can then turn around and be like, well, I did warn people very early on and had a national address to say that we had to do these things differently. So 2 weeks from now, it could be worse. And then we get the other things that could be talking about. So really, it's all up in the air, Avi. Like
it's up in the air, but we have a live bet going. And I want to make it clear that I was with you earlier on in the day, but I am no longer. I just sense that knowing everything we know, including the chronological order of what's happened in the last few days, it just feels like more than just another softening up or a discussion with the nation about working together, because this has stressed people out. This announcement itself has stressed people out, which have people worried about what's to come. And at this time, when you're trying to calm people down, you want to stop people from going to the petrol station and filling up their all their tanks because they're worried about something. It doesn't help to say tonight I'm going to address the nation.
If it is your scenario, then it's very concerning that Albanese did not address the Parliament today earlier on, because there hasn't been that parliamentary debate or discussion or scrutiny of the things he's planning. Then, because if it turns out to be something like you're saying, I know there's other things related to it, like the maybe the security and the national security interests and all this kind of stuff, but still, it goes to the point that this is someone that talks about being the most transparent, the Labor government most transparent, and most democratic, and all these things that they say. And it turns out, he's every criticism that the Labor Party makes of someone like Donald Trump for acting unilaterally, Albanese is just like that as well. So,
well, the truth is, even if he's announcing something like that, I don't think it's really his decision. I think it's something that he's being forced into, and as part of that, they've either been told he's been told how they need to announce it, or he's worked directly with Keir Starmer ahead of working with it's very hard. Like, it's speculation now. We're speculating everything until I hear what he says. I'm not really going to know why I think he did it in this way until we hear what message he delivers. I think before we watch it, so there's about 7 minutes, guys. Smash the like. I can see we got at the moment across our platforms 2,500. Oh no, that's just on that. Sorry, there's thousands more on our other one. I don't know, because Restream doesn't show me here. So that's just on whatever we're streaming there. So we've got a lot. We've probably got 10, 15,000 then. Smash a like, share it, make this the source. Forget ABC. We're going to go to the UK after this one, which will be interesting as well. We'll read a couple of these super chats before the Prime Minister comes up to address the nation. What have we got here? We've got Annabis. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for the support. If you want a New Zealander take on this, hit me up. Albo is effed. If anyone votes for him, they are screwed. Appreciate the super chat and your support from across the ditch. But nobody asked you for your take, you bloody Kiwi.
We'll annex New Zealand. We'll annex New Zealand. Does New Zealand have any oil? We should annex them and take their oil.
They're just lucky. They are just lucky Trump is not Prime Minister of Australia. David says, thank you for the super chat. US needs us. Iran, then China. Oz floating base. That's true. That is true. But you're assuming in that case that is America wants a presence on this side of the world. They could just give up on this side of the world totally. Like if you look at the isolationists in America that are against any intervention or any US involvement in anything outside of their own borders, they would say ditch everything in Australia. They might not say it now, but really that's the philosophy. So the people that are pushing that would say, no, actually we don't need you because we could just leave you here and you deal for your own. You deal on your own.
Yeah.
You saw they were getting a bit triggered about Pine Gap earlier this week or last week. I think it was so funny watching ABC finding Lebanese Muslims in Alice Springs, like randoms. I've seen them interviewing them going, oh yeah, my family's in Lebanon. I can't believe in Pine Gap they might be doing something that could be potentially helping the Israelis. Like I'm like, dude, you're in Australia. Like if you don't like
I hear it.
Go to Lebanon.
I hear it all the time as well from the the Hamas supporting Greens in the Senate and in the House. And what you hear is you don't hear like another alternative. It's like, how do we protect our national interests militarily? Australia, we have a great military, but it's nowhere near the abilities of the US military to protect the borders of our nation.
They're our insurance. Continent. They are our insurance. Unless we're willing.
Just across the border, we have Indonesia with, I think, 160 million people. Right? I'm not saying they're hostile towards us now.
But they could be at any time.
Any time. It's like an island just above us. 160 million people with a very militarized army. Now, without the US, having their interest in Australia as well and having that alliance, we are not really that effective, to be completely honest. It's not like how it used to be, the world.
No.
And China is a major superpower, and you have all these other players who are very much in China's pocket around Australia.
Yeah.
Even some of the smaller islands of the Pacific there.
They've been playing a smart
Chinese
game.
interests are there as well. They've been playing a smart game, and we have to play that game as well. So if you want to get rid of military bases related to the US and Australia, like what do we do? What do we replace that with?
Learn to speak Mandarin, mate.
Learn to speak Mandarin. That's right.
Okay, let's quickly do some of these super chats. I'm watching the screen to see when the Prime Minister comes on, and we will jump straight towards it. But for now, Annabis gave another 10 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much for your support.
I think he's worried about being annexed. He's just like, we'll just give him some reparations.
We'll pay our way out of this. Duke Boy says, what NDIS program can the government offer for us to exploit to financially survive these coming months? There's plenty out there, but I think you need to be a provider. Ask Drew Pavlo, he knows. Just don't ask Geordie Shanks. Although Jordan Shanks says it's not at all a scam, so maybe it's legitimate. Thanks for the super chat. What have we got? Jamie the Ring.
Okay, check ATO news section regarding fuel registering. Okay, so there was an announcement earlier as well, Avi, in the morning from the Treasurer and some other business leaders around the ATO easing some restrictions on businesses, also allowing for easing of credit to businesses as well, just to make it easier in terms of what's happening with this fuel crisis. So, like that was in the morning. So they have prepared situation to protect businesses over, like kind of like how they did during COVID.
Yeah.
How the ATO kind of eased off on going after businesses, chasing business debts and payment plans, all these kind of things. They're doing that again now. Very early
It
on.
is very reminiscent. When I heard about the announcement this morning, that's why I went in the direction that you were talking about, and I thought that it's serious enough. Like, it's beyond just telling us we've got to work together. It's either laying the groundwork for some sort of COVID-style restrictions. I didn't think it was going to be COVID to begin with. I thought fuel rations, and then encouraging people to stay home. But then the next steps were going to be starting to enforce that, because we just don't have... Like, I think we are headed there. That is no longer, in my eyes, a conspiracy theory. Well, it's still a theory, but I do think we're heading there.
I think. Has he started his national address?
No.
Okay. I'm just reading the comments. Someone said it started.
No, it hasn't started. I've got it here. I've got it on... Let me pull up another channel just in case so we can... But I'm sure ABC is going to run it live. He's running it on everything, so I've got... No one's running it. So I'll bring it up as soon as it's starting. Thank you, Jamie. What's... Jamie, the ring photography? What is that? You've got to have shorter usernames so I can read. I've only got to grade 6. Keijing says, just raising the stakes on your bet. Cheers, guys. Thank you, Keijing. I hope Rukshan can pay me, because I'm going to need it to fill up a quarter of my tank. Not even.
Man, I got two diesel cars, and I'm struggling.
You're done.
Both my SUVs are diesel. And I'm willing to sacrifice.
To take you to the Prime Minister, who is tonight making a rare address to the nation on the crisis in the Middle East. We'll return to our regular programming shortly, but first, here's the Prime Minister.
My fellow Australians,
it is recorded.
By nature, we're an optimistic country, but I understand that right now it's hard to be positive. The war in the Middle East has caused the biggest spike in petrol and diesel prices in history. Australia is not an active participant in this war, but all Australians are paying higher prices because of it. I know that you're seeing this at the servo and at the supermarket, and I understand farmers and truckies, small businesses and families are doing it tough. And the reality is, the economic shocks caused by this war will be with us for months. Tonight I want to speak directly with you about what the government is doing to shield Australia in these uncertain times, and also what all of us can do to help our country and help each other in the period ahead. On Monday, National Cabinet adopted the National Fuel Security Plan. Leaders from both sides of politics, from right around the country, working together to keep Australia moving, making sure that we are prepared so that if the global situation gets worse and our fuel supplies are seriously disrupted over the long term, we can coordinate the next steps together. Today, we cut the fuel excise in half, cutting the tax on every litre of petrol by 26 cents. Those savings have started showing up at your petrol station. For our truckies, we have cut the heavy vehicle road user charge to 0. Both these measures will be in place for the next 3 months. We are working to bring the price of fuel down, to make more fuel here and to keep it on shore, and get more fuel here, using our strong trading relationships with our region to bring more petrol, diesel and fertiliser to Australia. Now, it's the Australian way that people want to do their bit, and there are simple ways that you can. You should go about your business and your life as normal. Enjoy your Easter. And if you're hitting the road, don't take more fuel than you need, just fill up like you normally would. Think of others in your community, in the bush and in critical industries. And over coming weeks, if you can switch to catching the train or bus or tram to work, do so. That builds our reserves and it saves fuel for people who have no choice but to drive. Farmers and miners and tradies who need diesel every single day. And all those shift workers and nurses who do so much for our country. The months ahead may not be easy. I want to be upfront about that. No government can promise to eliminate the pressures that this war is causing. I can promise we will do everything we can to protect Australia from the worst of it. These are uncertain times, but I'm absolutely certain of this. We will deal with these global challenges the Australian way, working together and looking after each other, as we always have. Thank you and good evening.
What a crock. What a hype for nothing. I owe you $100.
You owe me $100. There you go, guys.
Like,
I was right. I predicted correctly that this is what's going to happen.
What a waste. Why would you make people nervous? Let's hear what they're saying in ABC.
It is a pretty extraordinary moment.
It certainly is. They're used very sparingly, as you know, Melissa. They do not happen very often. And I think what it does demonstrate is just the depth and extent of this Middle East crisis and the tsunami economic consequences it's causing our nation. So the Prime Minister making this decision to address the nation as he has just done, to outline his strategy, outlining the measures he's already, of course, adopted, explaining that already you are getting that cut in the fuel excise.
ABC's running cover for him, saying they're essentially patting him on the back for doing such a great job.
He pretty much just he used the national address where he made a big deal of it, and he just touted his little policy things that he did over the last week, and that was it. That was it.
Like, insane. To me, that's insane that was the national address that he hyped up all day and was published everywhere, and it was just so fake. I can see why he pre-recorded it, and I can see why the Liberal Party was so they must have got word from a leak from in Labor, like who told him that it was a pre-recorded, unless the media said that they weren't invited. Because, the media could have told him because essentially there was no press, so they don't want to. He doesn't want to answer questions, and that's why he did it like that. He didn't want to have to answer any of the questions. He put on this fake tone of, we're fine, everything's fine, everybody, we're good. It was condescending.
It is kind of disconcerting in a way.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to act like everything's like all good. Hey guys, everything's all good. Don't worry. And look, you want to have a leader that keeps the population calm and is honest with the population and is upfront with them. But I just don't know if he's being upfront and honest. And he did kind of say that the next couple of months could be difficult. So kind of leaving the door open for anything. But this particular address, I don't know what
Starmer's going to do the same? Do you think it's Starmer doing the same in 50 minutes? We're going to see that. We'll stick around for that. Yeah. Let's read some of these super chats. Let us know, guys, in the chats. Obviously, you've got the chats on the side.
Super chats
that was
for reactions.
That was a big nothing burger. The question is Starmer going to go down the route that we were talking about because Trump has been putting it on him, but I can't see him doing it. Just.
Well, I mean, the only difference for the UK is Iran has threatened just recently to bomb some of their assets, their bases, as a threat, just in the last 24 hours. So it could be something like that. And I also believe they've threatened some UK companies as well in the region that they will be bombing them.
So, it turns out that not only was he wasn't even, I guess he is laying the groundwork. You could argue that is laying the groundwork for we need to be prepared for tougher times, enjoy your Easter, which is a good message. That was a good message, but it just seemed fake. It didn't seem real. The way he was talking was not somebody that's just being upfront and honest with you. It's somebody who's a political spin, trying to show that he's in control and that he's genuinely happy, but it all seems artificial.
Yeah, because it might, again, Avi, like you're seeing in WA, all this might come down on the state premiers once more in terms of enforcing some of these things that they might potentially have to do down the track.
Yeah,
and Albanese could be just, again, running a PR exercise to show that he's in control right now. Everything's all good and dandy. And, I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing as a prime minister. It feels more like that. It's more like look at me, I'm the prime minister. This is what I'm doing. But like you said, it doesn't seem significant because it's everything that he said, the news has already reported on. Yeah. It's been discussed to death widely over the last couple of days in Parliament.
And everyone already kind of knows. If you've been watching anything related to the news, when most people have been, they know. So it was really just a message of reassurance with Albanese putting his face to the public.
Yeah, but it just seemed wild that in a time where there is heightened stress levels over what's going on and over the cost of living and over the unknown and insecurities that we have around energy and around specifically oil and petrol, diesel, that you would say, I'm going to do this important address in about 8 hours, have the whole country on edge. Like, what is he going to say? And what you say is, I'm doing such a fantastic job. And it's funny because the ABC goes straight into essentially going, yeah, he's basically telling us how good he is. He's doing, reaffirm, and he is, isn't he good? But when Trump does that, because Trump does that a lot, and they all mock him. At the beginning of every press conference, he talks about how great he's doing, and then he gets into he drops some crazy bomb in the middle of it all, where Albanese, like I was watching the beginning, and I was treating it almost like a Trump press conference where you just go, okay, just let him talk about how great he's doing everything, and then he's going to get to the meat of it. There was no meat. There was nothing in that.
There's nothing
That was a vegan burger. That was a vegan burger. But we've got about 50 minutes till Starmer's speaking. But for now, let's go through some of the and tonight
I'll look out for online reactions as well. I'll just have a look at what
sure, Jimmy. I'll read some of these super chats while we're doing that, and then I'll pull up a BBC feed or something. So David, thank you for the super chat. Says he should have notified Five Eyes Iran should go. I think this was prior to his speech. So some of these are going to be prior to this important speech from the Prime Minister of Australia. I think he just realises how irrelevant Australia is in the grander scheme of things when it comes to geopolitics. And it's like our most important thing is about how well I'm doing. Bazza Dark Horse, thank you for the super chat. Good to see you around. Haven't spoken to you in a while. Albo and Starmer announcing their resignations. Listen, that was wishful thinking. We were right behind you, but unfortunately, we're stuck with that fake leader for a long while yet. Cruel Intentions, good to see you around, mate. I want to build a refinery in my backyard. Would you suggest Patreon or GoFundMe to help me raise the 10 billion I need? I wouldn't do either. I would do Give, Go, Send, because those other two will cancel you for carbon footprint violations. But it's a good idea. I wouldn't mind one too. I might buy some. Skip3662 says, Avi for PM. I appreciate it, but unfortunately I'm a dual citizen, as the comments keep reminding me. In fact, I think I can hold. I think I am eligible for like 5 citizenships, like because I know I can get Polish. I think I could technically also get Yemen, although not the Houthi party Yemen.
They won't approve it.
I got Israeli, and I wonder. I don't know what Russia's because I got Russian Polish grandparents, so I don't know if Russia will drop one on me. Mate, there's no chance. But also, I just lost the bet, so I can't afford my first ad.
I can finally get 10 litres of diesel, so there you go.
By the way, I was the one that said that it had to be Australian dollars. I'm going to be giving you in shekels, the way I've been paying you every month.
Yeah.
Benji said, my prediction, Sam Bamford is going to turn on Pauline Hanson and endorse Gerard Rennick. Benji, I think I agree with your first part of the prediction, Sam Bamford, 100%. Clip this. Everybody, I've said it. Well, Benji has said it, but I've been saying it for a while. Sam Bamford, that Scott Cal, whatever his name is, all the Australian lobby crowd, Chocky, they're all turning on Pauline Hanson when they feel like it's safe to do so at some point. They are all the biggest fakers, grifters, backstabbers. They don't stand for what they believe in. And my evidence is just look at what they were saying about 8 months ago and then how they all of a sudden had a shift after that March of Australia when they were first going against the Nazis, and then they turned into making the exact same talking points as the Nazis, and they've had little goes, like they had that one little go at Pauline Hanson already, because she's literally, they all jumped on the Pauline Hanson bandwagon because she's mighty popular. Look at the polls. She's so popular.
Yeah, we saw Pauline Hanson. I remember when there was that whole discussion around some free speech argument, and all these individuals, not who you're just talking about, I'm just saying in general, a lot of people on the right turned against Pauline Hanson during that time, and just because they didn't vote or something like this. But look, and they were like, oh, it's over for One Nation and all this kind of stuff. But
that's right.
If we look at the results in South Australia, the proof is in the pudding. They've got, I think, 4 lower house seats, 3 upper house seats in the Senate in South Australia. And time again, I will back Pauline Hanson because she has a record of being consistent. And,
she's unlike all these clowns. She's consistent.
If anyone understands the Australian public in terms of that right side of Australian population and the sentiment of, everyday Aussies that are struggling and battlers, whatever you want to term it, I think Pauline Hanson has the right measure on all of that, and she has the courage of her convictions to stand by a lot of the things that she believes in over a long period of time, which is not something that you normally see in politics here in Australia. People flip-flop all the time based on what is trending at that very time. And look, it's happening, I believe, with a lot of people who are in commentary and people who are political commentators, for instance, that talk about politics, influences, however you want to name it. I think, Avi, if you watch back on any of our stuff over the last couple of years, we are very consistent in our positions. Like, I have backed Donald Trump for a very long time, and I continue to back Donald Trump, for example, just as an example, because I have courage of my convictions on the things that I believe in as a conservative. And the same thing goes for people like Pauline Hanson. I back them based on their track record and the fact that it aligns with a lot of the views that I have as well. This kind of engineering that you're seeing of people towards changing their belief systems because of something that's happening overseas that's not really in Australia's interest. Like, it's weird because people say Australia first, but a lot of that is geared towards hurting Israel. Like, I saw that over the last 2 days when everyone's talking about this domestic death penalty thing in Israel. Like, it's some sort of issue to do with Australia. It has nothing to do with Australia. It's like someone in Israel talking about some domestic law that we're passing here. It's got absolutely nothing to do with it, but everyone has their opinion on it. Like, it matters. It's just weird because so many countries have weird laws that don't necessarily make sense, but we don't pass judgment on them. And here people are crying about some law that targets terrorists, and it doesn't account for the fact that within Israel itself, you have Arabs, you have Jews, you have all types of different people, and they're all treated the same way. This is specifically to do with terrorists from who are targeting Israel from the Palestinian controlled areas, but nonetheless they are targeting these
non-Israeli. That's the funny thing. Everyone's making it about race. It's not about race, because if you're an Arab in Israel, it doesn't apply to you. It's for foreign terrorists. Let me put you.
But it's got nothing to do with Australia whatsoever.
But the funny thing is, these same Australian first people that are suddenly so outraged by this, firstly, didn't say anything last week when Iran actually publicly hung 3 athletes for the crime of waging war against God. Yeah, but they called the crime, the technical crime was waging war against God. Okay.
Yeah.
You said nothing then because you don't actually care about that. And then today you're suddenly so worried about killing convicted terrorists. Now, if it was in Australia, these are the same people that talk about Australia first. It's like, if terrorists came here, so terrorists in Australia, you might not believe in the death penalty broadly. I'm fine. I can actually sympathise with that. But terrorists, these same people will say terrorists and rapists here in Australia that killed Aussies, that came and gunned down Aussie, they would say, yeah, hang them. So what's the difference? Why do you care?
They do. They do. They say it all the time. They say it for pedophiles. They say it for terrorists. And now we have this weird, whole kind of grandstanding on morality. Like, we'd never say these things, but I'm fully for executing pedophiles or terrorists. I think there's
we're on certain platforms that we're not endorsing. There's a law.
Well, this is a legal issue. So this is a legal thing. So most countries, even the US, they have the death penalty. In some states, legally, it's a form of punishment, and if anything, it's something that's recognized in the West as well as a form of punishment. Not so much as it used to be, for sure, but if you compare it to the Middle Eastern countries who actually do hang people or kill people for being
I found that also
like
funny. All the comments from Arabs in Arab states complaining about it. Like, you guys have the death penalty for people that break Sharia law. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, these distinctions are there, but going back to the original point, people who are professing to be Australia first, a lot of their focus is really on controlling what happens internationally. It has nothing to do with Australia. It's really, really weird because domestically we have someone like Pauline Hanson, who is actually, I believe, very much Australia first.
Yeah,
she is. This is a lot of the One Nation policy points, a lot of the discussions that you hear from the senators in One Nation. They spend a lot of their energy and their focus based on Australia. Yes, related to the issues of like immigration, but particularly as it pertains to Australia, they do not go down the rabbit hole of we have immigration issues because of the Jews. And that's what some of these commentators have become in Australia. And it's sad to see because you lose that nuance of, having a legitimate discussion about some of these issues when you go down that path. It's very clickbaity. It's very Candace Owensy.
Yeah.
And, that would be my thing because I think, the commentators that you just discussed, they're influential. They have big audiences. They speak to a segment of the Australian public who might not be as engaged in politics to the level we are, watching it every day and kind of understanding the minutiae or the nuances of everything that's being said and done. So that they're influential in that sense, but it's kind of going down that whole path of the Jews, and it's just lazy stuff, really, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and to that story that you pointed out before, where there was that big blow up over. I forgot that it was actually in relation to One Nation abstaining from a vote, and it was all about free speech or whatever. And I think again it came down to the Jews. To be honest, I think that's what it was tied to.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time, and this is like a year and a half ago, and at the time it was a lot of people, loud voices, even within the One Nation party. And I watched it happen from the sideline, and I was thinking, look how staunch Pauline Hanson is, that she's not even capitulating to what looks like is blowing up in her face.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, those people, they went out of their way, and there were a lot of people that were, little influencers online that grew a platform on Instagram and TikTok, and they used those platforms to turn on One Nation, and it seemed like there was all this negativity coming from the right to Pauline Hanson at the time. But look at her since then.
Yeah.
She never actually capitulated to them. She never cowered to them. And now she's polling. I think then, like before that election, she was polling at like 9-10%. And now she's 20, 25, 26. Like, dude, you guys are irrelevant. And that's, it comes back to Benji's comment. I'm going to put it back up here because I love that people are seeing that. And you can clip all these because these people, they are disloyal. They will 100%, they do not stand in their convictions. They do not believe in what they say. They are performative. Sam is the worst of them all when it comes to performative. Like, you watch his videos, it's become so cringe how he's tried to become this chalky. Like, when you used to watch him in the beginning, he was like this rational level-headed guy that got a bit fired up about certain things, but it seemed genuine. Then he had that switch, and every second thing became about the Jews or Israel. Like, it became insane, and he was chasing the clicks, and he's become elevated, and everything is like screeching, whining loudly at the camera, and it is about the fact that he's chasing fame. And what happens? And I've been around so many years now, and I've seen different people. These guys shot up pretty quickly, and I've seen people like this. They've come. It's got into their head. They don't think yet that they can take on Pauline Hanson, because if they could, when she made that comment that they say that she said that Australia should join the war. That's not what she said. She actually said that Australia should stand by America as our only real ally because we're going to need them one day, and that's what mates do. That's what she said. If they felt strong enough, they would have taken her on at that point. Imagine Labour Party, imagine Albanese or the Liberal Party made the same statement that Pauline Hanson did that day. They would have not done one stupid little post on X going, no thanks, Pauline. They would have ripped into them with 10, 15 videos. They didn't do it with Pauline because they know that the crossover in bases right now, Pauline is in a lot, a stronger situation. But what's going to happen, all these people, mark my words, prediction. I know I got one prediction wrong tonight, so maybe my predictions are not that good. But one day, and I don't think it's in the too distant future, where they're going to feel, where it's going to feel like there is this onslaught against one nation, probably to have something to do with Israel and Jews, because she has been so staunch on this issue, and one of those things is going to annoy him. But and there will be like some sort of online public backlash, which is not real. Like, it's not real in the real world. Yes, there's a lot of more Jew hatred out in the real world, but it's not like what you see online. And when that time comes, they're going to jump in and they're going to try kick her while she's down, and then they're going to launch. They're either going to get behind Gerard Rennick, or they're going to launch their own Australian lobby is going to turn into a party, and maybe Gerard Rennick would join.
That is my prediction. Like, people ask me about the Australian lobby thing, and look, I kind of get the concept of having an Australian lobby in a sense, but technically in your own country, in Australia, to lobby the parliament, you actually have the option of becoming a member of parliament, running for politics, creating a party, joining a party, and changing the country in that way. The lobbies, international lobbies, and people have different views on lobbies.
That's what Parliament is an Australian lobby.
Yeah, lobbies specifically exist
special
for
interests.
pushing the special interests of different, corporations or organizations or countries. And, we live in a capitalist society now. People are like, oh, well, there's Israeli lobbies here, there's this Chinese lobby, there's Indian lobby. Yeah, and if you go to America, there's like Australian lobbies in America lobbying the American Parliament to get better deals for Australia. Like, if you're looking at some of these fuel deals and some of these things that are happening with corporations, it's because there's lobbies in those countries speaking about the benefits of doing business with Australia. So this happens in a lot of capitalist countries and even non-capitalist ones to some extent. I've been in Parliament. I spent a bit of time in Parliament working there behind the scenes for a senator. And they don't actually have the time to research and do things as it relates to every single issue. So I don't mind corporations talking to politicians. I don't mind countries talking to politicians, putting their case forward. The issue is, of course, you don't want to have influence where people are being like bribed or coerced or blackmailed or tricked into doing things. But the actual conversations happening with different countries or different people or people with different interests, that's all a part of being in a democracy. Like that is a part of it. Lobby sounds like a bad word, and I get the things which are attached to it. But what's happening in Australia in terms of the conservative right, they have picked out the Israeli lobbies, again, because of the incidents related to Israel. Like, they've had no option but to speak out. So if you look at all the Israeli organizations in Australia, especially the ones on the right, like, what do you do when your people in Australia, when you have Israeli Australians getting killed? Do you as community leaders speak out about that or not? Of course you speak out of it. Like, you have to. Like, that's, why wouldn't you? So they're kind of forced into talking about all these issues, and people just focus all their anger towards them, right? And then they use it as an excuse to just blame Jews, and that's kind of what's going on. And with that, I think what really happens is we lose sight of people who are actually responsible. People like Anthony Albanese, people like the Labor government. It's kind of scapegoats these lobbies, and we forget about the actual decision makers who are accountable to the people. So look, it's a free country. You can have an Australian lobby, and you can lobby for the interests of Australians. And look, I don't know, when a lot of these organizations, when they say Australians, do they actually just mean white Australians? Because when you look at the language of some of the things that they say and do, specifically, it just points to white Australians. And again, that's completely fine. Just be like the white Australia lobby. Like, be upfront and be honest
about it.
About what it is. Like, there's mixed messaging, and they struggle with defining exactly.
Although they have Chocky on board, so it can't be white.
Well, I mean, again, like, for me, as someone who is a conservative and on the right, I'm all for honesty. I don't mind people criticizing, the Indian community or Sri Lanka, whatever, like the heritage. I don't mind. It's a part of it. It's a part of living in democracy. It's fine. But I'm not going to associate myself with these individuals because that's not a part of my belief system. I believe, I'm an Australian and I have these certain beliefs. So I'm not going to associate with them knowing that they hate me, for instance.
Yeah.
And with these organizations, again, it's not very clear. Like, at least the NSN, at least the Nazis, to their credit, and this is the only thing I'll credit them forever.
Yeah.
They're very honest and upfront about their dreams of a white ethno.
I know. I find these clowns so much more frustrating because they're dishonest about it. Like, they just won't say. It's always coded. It's never like, I love the NSM for the mere fact that they just say the Jews, whereas these guys always like dance around. And I know what they're saying. They know what they're saying, but a lot of people don't understand really what they're saying. It's funny with the lobby thing. When you talk about the lobby thing, it's like, I don't actually have a problem if you ban all lobbies. But when your hyperfixation on the Israel or Jewish lobbies, because the lobbies that they're generally going after in Australia are actually Australian Jews, and which I vehemently disagree with a lot of their positions, to be honest. Like, there are right-wing Jewish groups, there's left-wing Jewish groups. I don't agree with some of the stuff that they advocate for. I'm happy to get rid of all lobbies. But the fact that they're hyper-fixated just on the Jewish and Israeli lobbies tells you, firstly, what their real true motives are. Secondly, it's, if you want to get rid of all lobbies, cool. But understand what a lobby is. Like, saying that I'm running this Australia lobby where that, like, essentially that's what the parliament should be. We're supposed to elect people that are meant to fight for our causes, to stand up in parliament. So what do you, like, you're not a special interest. You can become... It's more of a I think they're more of like a pack, what you have in America. Sure,
like, It's more like
pack.
that.
Yeah.
Technically, it's more like that. I think they use the term lobby. It's very loosely applied to what's happening there.
I
think it's more like...
No, I think that's a good point.
At the end of the day, they're going to have to support... Either they run their own candidates or they're going to have to support people and who are from political parties. And how can you ever be on the same page with a multitude of different political parties? Because they're never going to match up to your visions or your views. So, it's kind of flawed in that sense. And again, like I said, you're in Australia, run for parliament, get involved in a political party, start a political party. And that is how you don't have to lobby. You can be a part of the decision-making process. But have your little thing. That's fine as well.
Let's rate some of these.
I just think maybe it's the white Australia lobby, not so much the Australian lobby.
Yeah, but they do have their token chocky, so they can't be that white. He wishes he was white, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, you've got to have the clear messaging. I think that's the thing, and until they can, because if you're going to attack, like the way that they attack immigrant issues, and they just disparage all immigrants, and they forget that again, Australia is made up of a lot of different people.
Yeah,
I think is overall an issue, and it's politically for some of the political parties as well. Down the line, I think it's a dangerous thing as well because
Pauline is completely honest about it.
Pauline is she's a lot smarter than that.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. Like, these guys actually disagree with a lot of the core principles of One Nation, and Pauline never shies away from it. Pauline gives everyone time of day. That's why they talk to everyone. That's why they give these guys time of day. They're obviously trying to use her to reach those people. Like, I understand it's a thing that people play in this space, but if you look at the core things that Pauline has always stood by, it is actually not what they're saying. There are certain things that that kind of both groups agree on, which also we agree on, like the mass immigration and a lot of those issues. It's true that One Nation stands for, but a lot of the core things that One Nation has been clear that they stand for and with, which is like supporting the good immigrants in this country, becoming Australian as taking on Australian values rather than it being about your skin color. Like the fact that staunch supporters of Israel, like Pauline Hanson is probably the only person I can think of that's gone more than once, but even once into Parliament wrapped in an Israeli flag. Like, so there are even that thing that you said had a blow up in One Nation at that time. These are all things that she's always stayed true to. And these guys don't believe in. Like, or the latest example is the comment about with this conflict with America. I think half the time, I don't know if you can apply this to all of them. I don't think they believe in a bunch of the things that they talk about. You can sense when it's real or when it's just pandering to a certain audience, trying to attract. Like, why I bring up the whole thing at the March for Australia? That's when originally they were all against the Nazis. Remember, in the lead up to they were running a campaign against the Nazis, and then they got the backlash from the Nazis and the Nazi sympathizers, which can feel quite hectic online because there's a lot of them, and they come at you like, I've received in fact, I've never told this to people, but Sam called me back then, needing some advice and support because it was the first time he'd received actually threats, I think, from some of the Nazis. And I spent some time and I talked to him and I explained to him, don't worry, I told him what he should do, what he shouldn't. And then there was this shift where they realized, hold on, there's what is almost an untapped market, which is a lot easier to reach. It's a lot less dangerous, to be honest, in the current climate to join the anti-Jew bandwagon, to avoid talking about remember all of them, including Choki, was really talking about Islam and the Islamic community and all that until one day there was a guy in Sydney called, he's a TikToker, Underworld Bill or whatever, threatened him and suddenly he changed. So with Sam, it was as soon as the Nazis threatened him and he got a bit of a shake-up, he thought instead of going against them, they still say that they're against those guys, but they moved their talking points to the same talking points. Choki went from being this super anti-Islam guy online to suddenly saying we shouldn't tar everyone with the same brush. As soon as that Underworld Bill, who was like a gangster from Western Sydney and now does TikTok about being like one of those TikTokers that's ex-gangster and still kind of it's kind of fun. I actually find that guy entertaining, to be fair. I do find him entertaining. When I'm absolutely brain dead in bed, I just watch these people and they're kind of funny. They've got their little feud with what's his name, Spanian, and then they got the big cash guy. Drama. It's good drama. Western Sydney TikTok is the best. It's like watching what happens when you let this country. Listen, it's the best ad for no mass migration, because when you see the drama they have in Western Sydney on TikTok, it is like another planet. But all these guys, they're not real, they're not true, it's not about the issues. There are certain issues I'm sure they care about, like everyone, but a lot of what they push today is for clicks and likes, and it's all got into their heads, and the prediction stands. I don't know why we went so far on that. I think I just enjoyed the fact that somebody pointed it out. Cruel Intentions, thank you for the super chat, says, I predict Albo will announce a new scheme where people can hand their cars over to the government and receive one of the thousands of EV cars that China has stored in Australia. Well, Cruel Intentions, luckily we're watching this we're reading your comment after the speech. This is probably the first time Albo's not giving away free stuff.
Yeah.
Free stuff.
I mean, technically, the states have been giving away free stuff. Like, Victoria, we have the free public transport. It's not technically free, any of this, but...
Yeah. Somebody's saying in the comments they're fighting on Mundine. Yeah, they are. Saw that. Yes, somebody's down with the Western Sydney...
Yeah. But I'm just actually reacting. The online reactions, Avi, to Albanese's press conference has been very critical of him, and people are just saying how underwhelming it has been based on the fact that the whole nation was holding its breath.
Exactly. Thank you.
People are very underwhelmed by even. I'm just reading stuff from people on the left as well, like left-wing political commentators saying that that was it. That's what.
That's what you stopped the nation. Every channel was running
for, like an advertisement for the Labour Party.
It was an ad.
It was just.
He took what is like a prestigious almost event that
no, it's like a it's usually a moment of significance when
a moment of great, a
we have to
moment of
address the nation.
significance that holds superpower, and which is why there was so much speculation around it. And he turned it into like a little, like you said, political ad for himself of going, "What a great job I did," and didn't announce anything of substance. It was crazy.
Is it the chaser? What's the chaser or whatever? The shovel. They've bagged Albanese.
Really? Wow. That's
It says man stops nation for nothing.
That's actually quite funny. Well, 10:15. I can see here. I've got the Starmer one ready to go. That's at 10:15. So we've got 10:15 their time, which is in about half an hour. So we'll keep reading these super chats. That's actually pretty funny what you're saying. Shameful Music, thank you for the super chat, says, how dare you make fun of Albanese? He's only trying to sell Australia to China and Islamists and anarchists and pharmaceuticals. Good point. Thank you, Shameful Music. You should be ashamed of yourself. Shane Young 259, thank you for the super chat. Why are we blaming everywhere else and not our own government over the last 40 odd years for selling us out? We could have been fully self-sufficient.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's the biggest takeaway. I think for many Australians who are seeing what's happening right now, you do not expect Australia to find itself in this situation. And there's many other countries that we can line ourselves up against that are not finding themselves in this situation. But Australia, with its unique capabilities, with its energy resources and natural resources that we have, and like you said, 40 years, the time that we've had to, be prepared for something of this eventuality. Like, don't tell me that there's not people in places of importance, like significance, even in the military, wargaming these things, these possibilities. Because that area is a tinderbox. The Middle East is a tinderbox. So this could go off any time for any reason. And we could find ourselves in these situations. And to think that we haven't had the planning in place to make sure that this doesn't impact us for at least a year, let's say, right? You have stockpiles for at least a year or some ability to have that that transfer of these type of resources from other areas, for instance. That we don't have that is, I think, a lot of people a wake-up call. And I know they bang on about other types of renewable energies and, we're shifting towards these things. But the reality is that's a long, long way away. These guys telling everyone to buy electric cars now and, see how great it is to have an electric car. That is not a reality for many, many Australians. Most population, especially based on the conditions of their financial conditions, are not in positions to buy electric cars. At a whim, especially for all their family that commute to work. Like the distances that we have to go to for work sometimes is very long. Our roads are pretty bad in terms of traffic. Like you will spend 2-3 hours sometimes on roads in Melbourne, just getting from the outer suburbs into the city or across the city into another area to do your job. Especially people who are tradies, who are in the service industries that have to travel around the city of Melbourne. It is not possible for them to go and wait at a charging station and charge. We don't have that infrastructure yet to be able to do these things. So there's a lot of unrealistic ambitions there from our political class for a long time that has, I think, set us back in these type of situations. And it's really shown how inadequate Australia is. And it is kind of third worldly because these are the issues we're seeing in the third world right now. And we're kind of talking about the same thing. Trump is right. He's like, we got oil. We're fine. We don't need the Straits of Hormuz. If you want your oil, go get it yourself. That's your problem. That's kind of the reality. We have to be Australia first in the sense of being able to have the capacity to manage these type of situations. And we've been found wanting. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. And how we address that going forward as a nation, I think will be the most important thing, because that area could blow up again in terms of an issue in the future. And now that this has happened now, and to think that we will not be forward planning to not be in this situation again would be tantamount to just the complete disregard for the Australian people from our politicians. But, anything is possible in that regard, right? They might not learn their lessons from this.
It's funny because I've got the British channel going, so bear with us, guys. About half an hour. We'll keep this running until after Keir Starmer address, which is in just about half an hour. But just reading their breaking news scroller, what's it called, the ticker at the bottom. There's I'll just wait for it to come past again. It's breaking news. Here we go. Breaking news. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese delivers a rare address to the nation about the war in the Middle East, saying Australia has implemented its national fuel security plan. It's like they haven't got the thing that everyone's mocking him for it. I think that address is going to hurt him politically. It's going to hurt him politically because it was a farce, and he stopped the nation for literally nothing. The fact that the leftists...
I'll just read some of the comments from the lefties here. This is from Wazza from Melbourne, who's a diehard Dan Andrews fan from what I remember. He says, hang on a sec, is this Albo's address to the nation just a fuel update? Mate, you had the nation on a knife's edge. Someone person called Dr. Sheep person writes, what a effing fizzer that was. Another commentator he has written, Anthony Albanese just pulled off the ultimate media heist, free airtime on every commercial network with nothing of substance.
And I think it's going to hurt him. I think it's so true. This is the first time I'm agreeing with these lefties, and it's so true. And it's not just because it's Albanese that I dislike, but I think that was a national embarrassment. The fact that he stood there and he did this pre-record where he was completely fake and didn't give us anything new and wasn't willing to take any questions. It is embarrassing. And it cheapens the office. It cheapens those addresses. Now think about it. Next time he announces that he's doing a national address to an address to the nation.
Yeah.
One that was only ever done in COVID, at the Iraq War, at the global financial crisis, at these points of history, nobody's going to tune in. Why would you tune in? We rushed to put this all together tonight because he announced it.
Yeah.
Who's going to do that again?
There's a good comment here from
We'll probably do it. We'll probably do it again because
we'll do it again.
We get
Scott
super
Phillips
chats.
says, well, as a national address, that was unnecessary, uninspiring, and the political with cut excise and road user charge felt like a campaign speech.
Exactly. That's what it was, and that's what Trump does. You know what? I've got to give these guys credit that they're actually being consistent here, because these are all the same people that mock Trump for doing that every time. But again, I find it a bit annoying when Trump does it, because do you really need to pat yourself on the back? I get it with Trump because nobody else wants to pat him on the back or give him any credit for anything. But at least with Trump, he always comes through with some big announcement at the end of it. It's just like the warm-up, the softening to whatever he's going to drop.
Yeah.
He tells us about what a great job he's doing. Okay, let's keep reading these super chats. We've got about a bit less than half an hour to go. Annabeth says, tanks are rising, but I think they are all over-exaggerating. Make Orange mad bad. I'd love to give my... like to give my outlook as a New Zealander. Annabeth, listen, thank you for your super chats. As a New Zealander, we love to hear from you, especially when you're giving us super chats. And you're giving us a few tonight, mate.
New Zealand must be doing well.
Yeah, New Zealand, the petrol's there. Is it cheap? What is the price in New Zealand at the moment?
I don't know. I haven't heard much from. I think they're in a similar position to Australia in terms of their reserves.
I would have thought so. I'm
pretty sure.
PC Bandit says reassures Australia, but also asks to change fuel habits. Go figure. Yeah, that has been the consistent theme of this whole story. Denies that there's anything wrong, but then introduces in the same thing, or pushes people to change their behaviour, or that we're gonna there's clearly something wrong. You can't speak out of both sides of your mouth. And he does it within the same speech, let alone a few weeks ago denying that there's any going to be any fuel shortages at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a slimy one, but it seems like this one has caught up with him, not just with people that dislike him, but his own base seem to have picked up on it. Dos says, what happened? What did Albo say? I missed it. Dos, you probably didn't miss it. He said absolutely nothing. Insane. Stop the nation for that, for nothing. And tonight is Passover, the first night of Passover. It's one of the Jewish holidays that many Jews actually participate in. And I saw within the Jewish groups, a lot of people were annoyed, like, why is he doing an address on the one night? Like, there's probably 2 Jewish holidays that a lot of Jews celebrate. Observe, yeah. Tonight's one of them. I'm naughty, I'm here. My brother was actually calling me while we were doing it. But a lot of Jews were like, why is he doing it on this first night? And then when I saw, like I was being quite generous in the beginning of our conversation, saying, I don't want to judge how he's doing this until we hear what he said. Yeah. And I thought, okay, when I realized that Starmer and Trump are also talking, I thought, okay, and maybe the timing wasn't really on him. But now it's a complete farce. Like these Jews that have gone to tonight you do a Passover Seder, which would have been what the Last Supper for Jesus was, I think, was a Passover Seder. Yeah. It was a Passover the Seder that we do tonight. So yeah, crazy.
Look, mate, I don't care about your excuses. I just need the $100 to fill up my tank.
Well, hopefully Maxi's super chat was to my channel so I can afford it. Have a great Easter, everyone. I was expecting a bit more from PM. That was the most useless address to the nation. Look, I think it's quite fitting. Thank you so much for your generous super chat. Really appreciate it. But I think it's super fitting that Prime Minister Albanese gave the most useless address to the nation in history. I think that's what this is going to go down in history as. This is going to be remembered. This is a historic moment for Australia of nothing.
He just wanted his moment in the sun, maybe.
He wanted free airtime. I think he wanted free airtime. I think the left is right. Whoever made that comment, he wanted free airtime.
If you switch to ABC, we got one of his surrogates
defending it.
Speaking right now, yeah.
All right,
on the 7:30. Let's maybe tune into that.
I'll tune into that quickly, and then I'll go back. I've just got to remember to not forget to go back to.
And delivering more investment from Rio Tinto, $7.5 billion of additional investment in electricity generation and infrastructure.
Tim Ayres, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do feel like I need to move on to AI, or I would have done some false advertising.
Let's move away from there. Even they don't want to talk about it anymore. What have we got here? When Outback Jack says, when the meeting could have been an email, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you, Outback Jake. That was actually a good comment, better than anything Rukshan has contributed to this show tonight. Anubis, back with another super chat. Guys, learn from Anubis. Anubis, am I doing it right? Anubis, yeah. Anubis,
New Zealand now.
Yeah, I've always been against him, but I say we can accept him now. Albo, as you know, is a coward. I believe a full revolution is needed in apparently in Italy. They aren't showing to work. And is this voice to note, or is this English in New Zealand?
Not paying taxes.
And
they are working against the regime.
They are working against the regime. Maybe we need to look at that. We'll take that as a comment.
I've seen some civil disobedience in some parts. I'm not sure exactly what the whole Italian.
Well, I was interested. Yeah. I am interested to see what happens if and when they do try to bring on some sort of restrictions. Who will comply this time? Because remember, after COVID, we did say, like, this is going to happen again. It's just not going to be in the exact same fashion. And the question is are the people going to...
Well, restrictions really is, I think, around rationing, right? Like, that's kind of the first thing that comes
That'll
up.
be the first thing.
Seen this in some other parts, right? In Asia, they have rationing and they have these.
Australia had it before. I think
in the 70s, 80s. But now they have QR codes. You get a unique QR code tied to your vehicle. I'm talking about in parts of Asia, and then you got to scan the QR code before you pump the fuel, and that's your allotment. So that's how they track it.
I think
there has to be a system like that.
I think it's coming. I think that's coming here. I think soon that's coming. Sorry to break it to you. And I think beyond that, so I think what they're first going to do is the rations at some point, because we're screwed. We don't have petrol. Yeah. So I think soon rations are coming, and then they're already encouraging people to stay home as much as they can or take public transport. And I think, remember, with COVID, they also start with encouraging people to do things. And then they said, no, we're not mandating anything. The vaccines were the perfect one. And then they might not. Remember, they apply the same things tricks that they learned, techniques that they learned, but it'll manifest in a slightly different way. And I said that after COVID. And I said to people, you need to just be aware, because it's like, I didn't believe another virus is just going to immediately come out and the same thing is going to happen. I said back then, I remember predicting it was going to be something around climate change. So it was going to be around, and it was going to be around energy, which is like, all right, so slightly wrong, but it's still around energy, conserving energy, and that's what I do think that's coming. Sorry, but maybe. Listen, my predictions are just my predictions. As we saw tonight, it looks like the whole internet got it wrong, because it really did seem like he abused that, special address that should have been given a bit more. Popestar, is that what Popestar says that that was a political stunt, forced everyone to listen to his dribble. I can't believe he stopped the country for that. Exactly. Yep. I think we're getting a lot of that, and it's not just us. It's not just us. AMCD says, Albo's fake and gay, most un-Australian PM ever. We'll take that as a comment. And I agree, actually, the fake part of it especially, I think that address was super fake. And it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, he didn't meet the moment. He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Who is
meet
advising him? Like, is someone advising him to do that, or is that something he came up with himself? Because
and the crazy thing
it seems ill-advised.
And the crazy thing is, they pre-recorded that and still went with it. Like it just when you watch that, it did not look good. It looked as the last super chat said, it was fake. It felt real fake. And he didn't add any substance, didn't give us any information, didn't help at all. So it was just such a stupid thing to stop the country for. And like, it's a prestigious moment. Like, you've got to give honor and respect to the office, and to abuse it, like the entire media turned around and goes, "Oh, he's gonna give an address to the country." Like, even the media next time, are they really going to run it next time? Are they going to go, no, you know what?
Yeah, this is the first time, really, honestly, like, I've seen something to do with Albanese where I have not seen any positive coverage. Like, there is no positive coverage in the sense of, everyone is pretty much saying, what the hell was that?
Is ABC, because ABC seemed to be like kind of patting him on the back as soon as...
Yeah, but that's also Patricia Cavalis or whatever.
She loves him.
She's down that rabbit hole, anti-Trump. She's crazy about that stuff.
My wife is saying I need to shut up and let you talk. Okay. Are you seeing in the chat?
She married a smart woman.
All right. Ivan Milat, this is shocking. And look at the profile picture. That is not good. Ravi owes everyone $100 each and pay up, bro. Listen, I find you funny. I appreciate your super chats, but both your name and your profile picture is a bit confronting, to say the least. Chris Holmes says, Albo's attempt at foreplay for what's coming, boys.
That's a nasty picture that's going to be hard to get out of my head, but there is an element to that. And I think I'm just reading again the comments.
It turned Patricia on. It turned Patricia on.
People are saying that it feels like we are being softened up, for sure.
We are. It is. I think that's true. And who did you say said that? Alex Antique?
Well, Alex Antique was just making a general comment around, these kind of statements being made related to things that have been predicted in the past around climate-style lockdowns, energy-related lockdowns, like you were talking about.
Yeah. We've got about 15 minutes.
I think it's hard to imagine, I think, for a lot of Australians, that it could be a situation where fuels impacts our everyday life. But we've seen it. Like, it's not something that's not common in other parts of the world. Like, it happens, and when it happens rapidly.
Look at Venezuela, look at Cuba.
When you need, because that's why you have countries like that have, states that have enacted these emergency powers, because what they're trying to do is get an assessment of the stockpiles And really, they want to keep critical infrastructure running. And that's when you get into rationing, because it's around, there are certain services that need to be running, right? And what is non-essential in that scenario? Well, the rest of us. That's how it works. That's how it worked during COVID. We had essential services and we had non-essential. And unlucky for all of us, 99% of us, when the government's looking at what's going on, we're non-essential. They will put ahead companies like Woolworths and Coles again, because they need the trucks to keep coming. So you allocate fuel towards those things. Of course, hospitals, policing, basic infrastructure. You need to have oil to run those services. And then you have other associated industries that are related to energy that need these kind of services, and even manufacturing, depending on the product. So that is kind of what can happen rapidly. And that's why these states are trying to keep a track of their supply levels. And even if we do have fuel coming down the pipeline in the future, if it does get to a certain level where it's at these kind of emergency levels, they have to enact these things, because they have no choice. And that's what you see around the world. Like these Asian countries that have already enacted these strict restrictions, they're doing it not because they want to punish their people per se, but they literally have no choice but to do it.
Yeah.
And, we're kind of going down to that territory as well. And we're flirting with these kind of situations potentially happening in Australia. And a lot of it's to do with the remoteness. We are at the end of the pipeline for a lot of these things. And, it just comes down to what our government can secure for us. I think today there was a Singapore energy minister in Australia. So there's discussions happening with Singapore. I believe there's discussions happening with like South Korea and Japan. And really comes down to the gravitas, the position that Australia has in the world economy and our relationships to keep this country going. Because if you are a crappy third world country, and there's many around the world, they're already out of this game, right? It's only countries like Australia can survive the way that we are currently. But it looks like our planning has been almost third world, that we are facing that same future, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where we're at. And it feels like the Prime Minister has prepared us for this eventuality becoming a reality. Let's see.
I'm waiting until my wife tells me I can talk again. That's what I do. Thank you for the Super Chat Mandela review. By the way, guys, if you Super Chat on YouTube, we'll get to all of them throughout. We've got about 15 minutes now till the press conference.
My wife is saying, hey, man, if you have something to say, against all odds, you just say it. You snooze, you lose. She's blaming me.
Right. That's true. Hi, it's Rabbi Zev. Thanks for staying silent. Rabbi Zev. Thanks for I think this is somebody being a smartass about. Doesn't matter. It's really funny they're saying that. About it's the one that Chucky joined in, or the noticer. They all cared about suddenly my brother being abused when he was a child, and his abuser got sentenced a couple of weeks ago, and they were like all upset that I didn't report on it, even though I don't generally report on those stuff. But and then they were all like standing for around. Chucky condemned me that I didn't want to talk, and it's like. My brother actually.
I think they're saying that you are not defending your brother. I don't think they really like. That's a well-known story in terms of what's happened there, and it's something that you've spoken about previously.
Look, they all care. It's just so funny. It's like all those things. They all suddenly cared because there was a Jew, and they ignore the fact that the victim, who was my brother, who is my brother, is also Jewish, and he doesn't actually agree with that. And he actually told Chucky in the comment, he just go like, Chucky did this whole thing, why are you not defending your brother? And my brother's basically like, yeah, shut up, man. Like, I don't need your support. Your fake support. This is what they do. They ride on this issue pretending to care because they found one Jew that they can go, oh, look at these pedophiles. Yeah, the guy's a pedophile scum. I'm glad to see that justice came. And then they're like, oh, he got off on jail. He actually didn't get off. He didn't get off lightly. It was, my brother didn't think he was going to jail after all these years. He had been dragged from overseas and was under house arrest, whatever. I don't really need to get onto it, but these guys think that it's some dig at me, like I'm protecting pedophiles. Mate, let the guy burn. I don't want to say my position on what should happen to pedophiles, but it is similar to something Rukshan alluded to. But, if Israel starts doing that, if Israel starts punishing pedophiles with the death penalty, these same people get angry about it again because they get angry about anything Israel does, even if they kill terrorists. Anyways, we go on a bit of a tangent. Thank you, Adi Chaim. We love getting the 6 shekels, but next time put a 7 in front of it. Remove the dot over a couple.
I'm more used to the 7. Like if it's not 7,000 shekels, I don't really recognize it because
it's not
that
real
is
enough.
kind of what I've gotten used to over time.
Michael says, "I'm back. We all rock. How strange this speech is on April Fool's Day." I didn't think that. That's so funny. It was April Fool's Day, but isn't that supposed to be before? He did announce. You've just given Albo the perfect defense. He did announce it in the morning.
Yeah.
So this was his April Fool's joke. That's the only way that we can. That's the only way we can kind of justify it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Starmer is about to do his speech on April Fool's, like in the morning.
Another comment I'm seeing from people is a lot of people are saying that previous national addresses like this have not been really pre-recorded.
No,
it's been some element of live.
I don't think any of them would have been. I don't think the COVID one with ScoMo wouldn't have been. The one for Iraq wouldn't have been.
Well, it just shows you how tight and scripted it was with the messaging. Like it's really to serve a particular purpose.
Good point with the April Fools. What do we got? Ocean Poxy says, thank you for the super chat. Says, our PM schmuck Albo Keeney been addressing the nation already. Yes, you missed it, Ocean Poxy. And what an address it was. I prefer to listen to, like we're seeing in the comments, hours of Pauline Hanson would have been better. She would have said more. We've got about 10 minutes till the press conference, and I can see it's already coming up on the screen here. I'll pull it up as soon as it's happening. Specialist Math says, Albo the clown will milk the Iran war to hide his failures, just like Ukraine was used to bury the COVID mess. Same excuses, same incompetence. Good.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Good
because I've already seen the talking points of Labour, especially the Treasurer, when we talk about the budget and things like this. You know, they're always reverting back now to the crisis in the Middle East, and even some of the interventions which they're doing now, whether it's what's the thing that they suggested recently, some of the tax relief stuff, or what's the one that there was another thing. Oh, that's in the state of Victoria. We're going to get that in Victoria as well. I was thinking of Jacinta Allen with the public transport. That's going to cost a couple of, is it $60 million or $160 million worth of public transport? So all this money has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the coffers of their existing debt. And it means, certain things might not be done. And they have an excuse now for almost everything, for at least until the next election. And then during the election itself, it'll always be about what we did during the Middle East, the crisis, and the sacrifices we made. And Albo will have for his commercials the press conference from today, the national address. It's all kind of lining up, isn't it?
Oh my God. Michael says Iranian people are beautiful. IRGC are animals. I concur. I would agree with that. Absolutely. Every Iranian I've met have been beautiful, lovely people, and even just in Melbourne, like the ones that support the IRGC, the supporters of the IRGC here in Melbourne, when I've met them, they've been a lot more barbaric, even in their mindset, compared to the peace-loving Iranians that I would. Those are the kind of immigrants you would love to have. Those are the kind of immigrants we want, people that want to contribute to this country. Fuba says, your thoughts, Albo said in the speech, we have had no involvement in the war. Do you think Starmer will say the same? That's a good question. What is Starmer going to say now? Because in the last hour or so, Trump has said apparently that he's strongly considering to pulling US out of NATO. the UAE has just announced that they are considering, or they have offered the US to help them, support them open the Strait of Hormuz. Because the UAE really wants it to happen. UAE wants two things to happen. They want Iran dealt with, the threat gone once and for all, and they also obviously want the Strait of Hormuz open because that is their... But, they've got plenty of oil, they've got plenty of money, they're going to be all right. They're not Australia. In Australia, we're screwed. But those are two interesting developments. I don't know why America's still in NATO now. What does NATO give them?
Yeah,
he might do it.
Trump's been making the case against NATO for a while. It started obviously with the fact that they weren't matching their spending obligations, the same as the US.
Yeah.
But now we've really seen that relationship be tested. And when you have major nations like France, especially, making the type of statements that they make against the interests really of themselves, like Trump has been made a very valid point. Like Europe is more at the mercy of issues in the Strait of Hormuz than the US.
Yeah,
and they're not interested in protecting their strategic interests in that area because for whatever reason, they don't want to back the US in this and their Gulf allies. Australia finds itself in a very similar situation as we discussed earlier. So,
going to the super chat, what do you? Because I'm going to go with your prediction at this point because I've bombed it so hard, like probably most of the country. What do you think Starmer's going to say now?
Well, I think, again, UK, they're struggling as well, I believe, right? So he might have some, I don't know if it's to do with fuel, but maybe cost of living. I'm just seeing some things online, maybe something to do with cost of living just to help the British people out. I don't know how that works. They have a pretty big population. So what that looks like, I haven't followed it very closely in terms of what the impact has been in Britain, in the UK, that pertains from this. But I think it's something around that. It would be interesting to know that if Starmer actually does it live, which will be one up from Albanese first.
It is. It's a live one.
It's a live, and if he takes questions from the press, because I think the press will have very, very interesting questions for Starmer based on what Trump has been saying.
Hold on. I think Albanese just tweeted out his
video
address. Yeah. Yeah, he did. And Mario Nafal stole it and tweeted it out himself. It's just like, it's such an embarrassing piece of...
yeah. Well, let's see the commentary on that. I mean, that's a good one to... if you want to pull that up on X, I don't know if you can.
I just want to... I want to see...
Get ready for the press conference.
I've got the press conference loaded. There's about 5 minutes till he's going to be. So let's do the super chats while we wait, and then we can go back and look at that before we close off for the night. Epoxy Table says, God bless Australia and Israel. Take that as a comment. I agree with. Matty B says, are we sure that wasn't April Fool's broadcast? Which is, I'm actually unsure now. The only thing that makes me think it wasn't is that I don't think Albo is that funny. But he might try say it was. But now he's going and tweeting out his video like he's proud of it. So who knows? Andy Ozkillick says, laugh out loud, Albo talking about Aussies looking after Aussies, and the Gov will do its best to protect and help us. Gas exports and royalties is all the evidence I need.
Yeah, that's true. And even in this situation, like, this is not like the health scare or something like this, right? This is very different. You know, if you're looking after each other, what does that mean? You like kind of pass around your jerry cans and give fuel to people. Like, what's exactly like looking after each other mean?
Yeah.
Does it mean that we line up in orderly fashion at the gas station to get fuel? Because that's kind of the issues that arise, right? When you have rationing or something like this. What is that? I don't know what that looks like, and especially when we have such a fractured society and community. A lot of people don't know their neighbors and things like this. Like, I don't know what that means, but maybe I think they're more so leaning towards you encouraging others to travel less. You know what I mean? Telling people to use the train, carpooling. I think they're the kind of things that we're going to hear. Encouraging people to check in on the elderly, maybe because people can't visit them as much. Things like this potentially is what they mean by looking after each other.
Run Rami, our friend Rami has given $2.99 saying, I got paid $7,000 to leave this super chat. Thank you, Rami. Our Assyrian brother. Oh, here we go.
Minister. The conflict in the Middle East has now entered a second month. And while we're working at pace for de-escalation and peace, it is now clear that the impact of this war will affect the future of our country. So today I want to reassure the British people that no matter how fierce this storm, we are well placed to weather it, and that we have a long-term plan to emerge from it a stronger and more secure nation. First, let me say once again, this is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict. That is not in our national interest. And the most effective way we can support the cost of living in Britain is to push for de-escalation in the Middle East and a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which is such a vital route for energy. To that end, we're exploring each and every diplomatic avenue that is available to us. The Foreign Secretary and the Chancellor have met their counterparts in the G7. The Defence Secretary has been in the Middle East speaking to our partners. And the UK has now brought together 35 nations around our statement of intent to push as one for maritime security across the Gulf. And today I can announce that later this week, the Foreign Secretary will host a meeting that brings those nations together for the first time, where we will assess all viable diplomatic and political measures that we can take to restore freedom of navigation, guarantee the safety of trapped ships and seafarers, and resume the movement of vital commodities. Following that meeting, we will also convene our military planners to look at how we can marshal our capabilities and make the strait accessible and safe after the fighting has stopped. Because I do have to level with people on this. This will not be easy. I spoke with relevant business leaders in shipping, finance, insurance, and energy supply in Downing Street on Monday. And they were clear with me the primary challenge they face is not one of insurance, but one of safety and security of passage. So the fact is, we need all of this together. A united front of military strength and diplomatic activity, partnership with industry, so they too can mobilise once the fighting has stopped. And above all, clear and calm leadership. That is what this country is ready to provide. Because my guide from the start of this conflict has always been the British national interest. And freedom of navigation in the Middle East is in the British national interest. Let me turn now to the impact at home, because I know that this is causing huge concern. People turn on their television, they look at their screens, they say explosions, infrastructure blown up, aggressive rhetoric. They worry that the UK will be dragged into this. We won't. But I also know that people have a deep sense that this will affect their family and their household. They can see it at the petrol pumps, and they worry about their energy bills. It is the job of government to meet these moments, not just with immediate action, but also with clarity about our direction. That's what I remember about the 1970s, when my family could not pay every bill. We struggled through the energy shocks and the price rises of that decade. But we always believed in the end that Britain would secure a better future for us. And I think that's what's been lacking in the crises of recent years. And I'm not prepared to ask the British people once again to go through a crisis, come out of it, and say, business as usual, back to the status quo. So on our economy, on our energy, and on our defence, this time will be different. We will make Britain a fairer and more secure country, because that hope is what is needed as the country comes together, and because how we emerge from this crisis will define us for a generation. So, as I set out a few weeks ago, we have a 5-point plan for the immediate crisis. We're cutting energy bills by over £100 per household today. We've extended the cut in fuel duty until September, and we're monitoring that situation daily. We're supporting people exposed to heating oil rises, setting aside £53 million for that. We're taking back control of our energy security by investing in clean British energy, because that is the only way we get your bills off the roller coaster that is controlled by Putin and the Iranian regime. And frankly, I'm sick and tired of your energy bills fluctuating up and down because we're on the international market, when if we took control of our energy and had homegrown renewables, we could stabilise your bills. And finally, as I say, we'll continue to push for de-escalation in the Middle East. But look, there's also a bigger argument here, because every one of these measures is part of a long-term plan to make our country more secure and more resilient to shocks like this. I mean, just look at what's happening today. Today, your energy bills will be cut because of the action that we took at the budget. And whatever happens in Iran, that price is now fixed until July. Today, if you need a prescription, instead of rising as they used to, the price will be frozen for a year. Today, if you're working on the national living wage, your wages will go up. Next week, on Monday, the state pension will go up. Next week, the 2-child limit will be scrapped, lifting 450,000 children out of poverty, the vast majority from working households. And next week, the biggest strengthening of workers' rights in a generation will become law, a huge boost to the economic security of working people. Now, some people may say, this isn't new, this was already planned. To which I say, yes, that is my point. Everything I've done in politics, certainly since the Ukraine war in 2022, is a response to this new and dangerous world. We campaigned for a windfall tax on oil and gas companies, which we extended. We focused on the cost of living, and we acted at the budget. And we've always emphasised the need for clean British energy. And we've invested because we knew that making our country secure in this world was the ultimate test that we would face, and our ultimate responsibility to the British people. Now, it's not going to be easy, clearly. And in the coming weeks, as you would expect, we will continue to assess the economic effects. We will continue to stand up for the British national interest. And we will continue to do what we must to guide our country calmly through this storm. However, it is increasingly clear that as the world continues down this volatile path, our long-term national interest requires closer partnership with our allies in Europe and with the European Union. Now we have made progress on this front, on agriculture, electricity, emissions trading, and more. But as the Chancellor has rightly pointed out, Brexit did deep damage to our economy, and the opportunities to strengthen our security and cut the cost of living are simply too big to ignore. So, in the coming weeks, we will announce a new summit with our EU partners. And I can tell you that at that summit, The UK will not just ratify existing commitments made at last year's summit. We want to be more ambitious. Closer economic cooperation, closer security cooperation, a partnership that recognises our shared values, our shared interest, and our shared future. A partnership for the dangerous world that we must navigate together. A world where this government will be guided at all times by the interests of the British people. Thank you. I will now take questions, and I have the BBC first. Henry.
Thank you, Prime Minister. As it stands, fuel duty is set to go up in September. You've said that's under review. I think today you said you were monitoring it. It is very hard to find anyone here in Westminster who seriously believes that you are going to press ahead with that. So if today was about reassurance, why don't you just give motorists that little bit of reassurance now and tell them it's not going to go up?
Well, fuel duty is set until September, as you rightly say, in terms of the cut. That will remain the position. The other measures that we're taking today, obviously energy bills are going down today, on average by £100 a household, and that will remain down until the end of June, whatever happens in the conflict. And I know people are concerned to know that that remains the case, whatever happens in the conflict. So let me be clear about that. And those that are heating their homes with oil are obviously getting support. We are keeping this under review. Obviously, a lot will depend on how long the conflict goes on, how quickly the Strait of Hormuz can be opened. And that's why I've made the statement I have today about the next step that we're taking, particularly on the Strait of Hormuz, which will be crucial in terms of what actually happens to energy prices and how long there's a spike in those prices. So that's the action that we're taking today. I've got ITV, Harry. Harry.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Harry Houghton from ITV News. President Trump has said this morning that he's considering pulling the US out of NATO. You've just talked about looking at a new long-term partnership with the EU, including on security. Is this an acknowledgement that Britain's long-term security relationship with the United States is about to change?
Well, let me say a number of things in response to that. Firstly, NATO is the single most effective military alliance the world has ever seen. And it has kept us safe for many decades, and we are fully committed to NATO. Secondly, that whatever the pressure on me and others, whatever the noise, I'm going to act in the British national interest in all the decisions that I make. And that's why I've been absolutely clear that this is not our war, and we're not going to get dragged into it. But I'm equally clear that when it comes to defence and security and our economic future, we have to have closer ties with Europe. That's why we had the summit last year. This year, as I've just announced, there'll be a further summit. We will make good on the commitments that we put in place last year, but we will also go further in relation to the alignment. Thank you very much, Harry. I've got Lucy from Sky. Lucy.
Thank you. Prime Minister, you're talking here, of course, today about the cost of living. You said yourself, nothing in this speech is new. You've got the Australian Prime Minister earlier talking about slashing tax on petrol and diesel, telling people not to use more than they need. Can you be really clear to people at home listening to this? Should they be looking at changing their behaviours now? Well,
in terms of the situation, we're monitoring it carefully. We had a Cobra meeting looking at the ongoing impacts here in Britain yesterday. That is being monitored daily. I had the business sector in on Monday to discuss with them, this was shipping, finance, insurance, to discuss with them mainly how we deal with the Strait of Hormuz, how quickly we can get action there to get the supply open or fully open. And that is what we are doing. They're decisions that we think are right here, and we will continue to do that. But I emphasise, again, it's clear to me that the main determinant now of the impact is going to be how long the conflict goes on, and the question of how quickly we can get safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. And the two don't necessarily go together. In other words, I don't think it can necessarily be assumed that a de-escalation of the conflict necessarily at the same time brings the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and that's why we're moving to the next level of planning in relation to the Strait of Hormuz. We've been dealing with this for some time, but now we move to the next stage with the Foreign Secretary meeting coming up later this week, the first time we've convened that coalition, if you like, of countries to look at diplomatic means, political means, and then the military planners coming together at a separate meeting to look at capabilities. Thank you very much, Andy. And I should say, Andy, congratulations to your daughter on the gold medal, I think, that she's just got.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, actually following on partly from Lucy's question, I mean, in other parts of the world, there is much more of a sense of leaders preparing their populations to say, this is hard, you may have to do things differently. Yet from your government so far, we've heard behave as normal, even book your summer holidays as normal. Isn't it time maybe to address the British people and say, perhaps we have to start thinking about our behaviour in a different way?
Well, a number of points in response to that. Firstly, there are a number of measures we're taking. The direct measures in relation to energy price, the support for oil, fuel duty, the wider measures, most of which come in either today or this week on the cost of living, which are not a response to this particular conflict, but are a response to the fact that the cost of living has been the number one issue in our country for a very long time. And I'm conscious that whatever's going on in the world, whatever's going on in politics, that remains the number one issue. In relation to the situation, we are monitoring it very carefully on a daily basis. Our assessment it looks at supply, looks at the impact on our economy, and we'll keep the measures we've got in place at the moment. I'm absolutely convinced that the most important thing is de-escalation. The most important thing is getting the Strait of Hormuz back fully open, and that's why we're putting a lot of effort into the next stage of that and really pushing forward. And as I've said, we're prepared to take a sort of leadership role in that as the United Kingdom in relation to the Straits of Hormuz. Thank you, Andy. I've got Paul from Channel 4. Paul.
Morning, Prime Minister. Look, most of the measures you're talking about were already in place before this war kicked off. So far, you seem reluctant to talk about specifics for help because of this war. And the criticism is that you've been dithering. So have you been dithering, or yes or no, do you have in mind a fixed set of plans for the hardest hit by the cost of living crisis caused by this war? And if so, when can we expect to hear them? What are the key indicators that will make you say, this is what we've got planned for you?
Yeah, let me just answer that. Firstly, a lot of the measures on the cost of living were measures that were taken at the budget last year, so we were ahead of this. Most people will be watching on their screens worried about the damage they're seeing, the explosions they're seeing, the conflict, but they will also have this deep feeling inside, this could affect me. And what they mean by that is it could have an effect on the cost of living. We've been saying the cost of living is the single number one issue for a very long time. So it's not a coincidence that the measures coming into force today are on the cost of living, because I've been clear that that is the central issue, and that is I think for most people in the country, that's the thing they're probably worrying most about today. So we're actually ahead of the game in relation to that, because we took those measures at the budget. The only reason energy bills are coming down today by an average of £100 is because of the measures that we took at the budget, and they'll be down for 3 months. So those measures have been taken. In relation to what might be needed later in the year, obviously we're working through contingencies. A lot of it will depend on how long the conflict goes on, how quickly the straits are open, because it's very difficult to assess at the moment what might be needed, say, in the winter, until we know the answer to that question. So we're looking at a number of contingencies, as you would expect. I think it's important to point out that whilst there will always be a concern about energy bills, I think people will begin to really worry when it gets to the autumn energy bill, because the summer bill, which is the next one, tends to be, on average, about 7% of the energy people use. It doesn't mean they're not worried about it, but I think most people will be looking to what's the one that comes when it gets colder later in the year. So we're working across all of that. But in the end, the focus has to be on de-escalation and getting the strait open. And that begins to answer the question of what is the nature of any support that may be needed. Clearly, we want to make sure that we act for everybody in keeping the price down, the cost down. And today's measure on energy bills is a measure for everyone. But equally, in terms of tailoring support, we need to make sure that nobody is left behind here. Thank you very much, Paul. Natasha from LBC. Natasha.
Natasha Clark from LBC. The head of the House Oversight Committee, which is investigating the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, has called on the King to meet with those victims. Do you think there is a moral case for doing so? And if I may, you've obviously outlined today on the cost of living all of what you're doing, which I'm sure listeners will welcome. But just 10% of the public think that the government is doing well. Why do you think that might be?
Well, let me deal with the important point you make at the end there, because one of the things that's really important for me to get across to the public is that their bills are coming down by £100 on average, and they're staying down until the end of June, whatever happens in the conflict. And I repeat that for a reason, and that is because I'm not sure everybody has heard that. It is really important for them to hear it, and I want as many people as possible to know that that's the case, because I know they're going to be anxious. And when I have said it to people, there's been the secondary question is that actually going to hold even if the conflict goes on? And the answer to that question is yes. So my job is to make sure that I get that across to the public, because that is the measure that comes into effect today. In relation to the King, I think it's important to appreciate this is part of the 250 celebrations that are in place. So it's a long-planned visit. And the US and UK are close allies, have been for a very, very long time. But this is a visit that, as I say, has been long planned and is part of the 250 celebrations. That's where the focus of the visit will be. Thank you very much. Gabriel Nussbaum, please.
Hi, good morning, Prime Minister. I'd like to zoom out a little bit to the wider elements of the cost of living crisis, specifically the one affecting the young generation, who were simply told, go to university, get a job, buy a house. We see today houses on average 8 times salary, student loans, very relevant at the moment. Jobs are either unavailable for young people, or if they are, there's no security. The pension system compared to previous generations is completely different. Salaries not keeping up with the cost of living crisis, and childcare costs through the roof, putting people off or delaying starting families. I'd love to ask you to share a message to this young generation, perhaps more to look at an element of hope and confidence looking forward to the future.
Yeah, well, let me give that, and let me tell our young people we've got their back. And all of the points you raise are really important, whether it's home ownership, where the average age of home ownership has gone up.
Who was that dude? Like, that just like was a planted.
It's like he put him there's like a labour stooge.
Maybe now free from 9 months to 4 years, makes a huge difference.
They're very cordial
for young people with young
British.
In terms of the money it saves them, their ability to get back to work. And on that question of getting into work, we're putting in place what we call a youth guarantee, which is a strong support from the government to help people into work and support them into work, because all the evidence is if they are able to get into work, even for a relatively short period, the likelihood is that they will then go on from there with a secure job into the future. So all of those measures are in place. But it's really important you highlight the impact on young people, who I think will feel that they've been let down over the last decade and a half. And we need to put that right. Thank you very much. I've got Jessica from The Guardian. Jessica.
This one's going to be a good one.
I wanted to pick up some of what you said about close relationships with Europe. Do you believe, you said before that you don't think it's right for the UK to rejoin the customs union. Are we heading towards more of a rejoining of the single market? Is that something you think would improve Britain's economic future?
Well, I do think that we should strengthen our cooperation on defence, security, energy, emissions and the economy. And on the economy, the steps we've taken so far have been in relation to the single market. And I'm ambitious that we can do more in relation to the single market, because I think that's hugely in our economic interests. Obviously, this is a matter of negotiation and discussion with the EU, but the summit we have this year will not just be a stocktake summit where we look at actually the 10 strands that we put in place last year. It will be a deliberate ambition on our part to go further than that and to cooperate more deeply, including in the economic sphere. So thank you, Jessica. I've got Jack from The Sun. Jack.
Hi, Prime Minister. Jack Elson from The Sun. Can I just pick up on that point? Do your manifesto commitments not to rejoin the customs union, free movement or single market still stand? And you previously said from this podium that you wouldn't be forced to choose between tethering Britain closer to either Europe or America, but it does seem that you are engaging with closer negotiations with Europe and you have a deteriorating personal relationship with Donald Trump. So is it fair that you are actually choosing Europe over America?
Well, Manifesto commitments remain, but we made it clear in the manifesto that we wanted a closer relationship with Europe. So that is perfectly consistent with our manifesto. I'm not going to choose, because I think it's in our interest to have a strong relationship with the US and with Europe. But I do think that when it comes to defence and security, energy, emissions and the economy, we need a stronger relationship with Europe. I actually think that will help strengthen our relationship with the US, because successive presidents have said that Europe needs to do more on their defence and security. I've long argued that with European colleagues, that we should be doing more. And that's not just, for example, on defence spend, although it is on defence spend, it's also on how we spend, how we collaborate, cooperate, and that's why I've focused on deals, for example, that we've done with Norway in relation to frigates. Really good deal, very good for trade, very good for jobs in the Clyde, but really importantly, interoperability of the frigates. We can have our crews on their frigates, they can have their crews on our frigates. That, to me, is the future of a stronger European defence, which is bringing together the capability that we've had. So we don't just get each country developing its own capability. It's an ongoing discussion. I spoke at the Munich conference about it. I spoke at the Jeff meeting about it last week in Finland, that we have to go beyond just a numbers game and be much more integrated in the way that we work on defence and security. Thank you, Jack. And I've got Joe from Bloomberg. Joe.
Prime Minister, President Trump said yesterday that he wouldn't come to the aid of the UK anymore in his Truth Social post. How seriously do you take that threat from our main ally?
Well, it's very important that we're clear. There's been a good deal of pressure on me to change my position in relation to joining the war, and I'm not going to change my position on the war. So whatever the pressure, whatever the noise, I'm the British Prime Minister and I have to act in our national interests. I should say that on defence and security and intelligence, we're obviously working closely with the US, as we always do. And in relation to the planning on the Strait of Hormuz, of course, that involves talking to the Americans as well. So, as I say, whatever the pressure, whatever the noise, my job is, as British Prime Minister, to concentrate on what's in the British national interest. That's what's guided me through this conflict so far. It will continue to guide me as we go forward. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
There you go.
I mean, that was more of a national address and live, and he took questions. I mean, just on that comparison with Albanese, I think you can give Keir Starmer some points there for being able to talk for so long in a live manner and take questions from the press. My initial observations.
In Iran and the Middle East and Strait of Hormuz is.
Yeah, I was just checking. It's just weird, like it's like.
But yeah, he's definitely he's no Winston Churchill, and he's more
so embarrassing.
more like to a Chamberlain, and he's kind of putting up the white flag of surrender as well. And there are, I think there was lots of people on multiple fronts, and you see him very openly now backing away from Trump and saying he's even reconsidered and changed his mind. I mean, I'd like to see Trump's reaction to all this tomorrow morning in his press conference. He's definitely going to talk about this.
There's a contrast, though. There's a contrast between a pre-filmed couple of minutes fake thing, and then there's someone who's come up with it looks like a well-practiced speech, but he was able to deliver it in real time. It seemed like all the questions, a lot of them were pre-planned. He knew exactly what he was going to answer. Look, I think as a leader of a country, he did a much better job executing the propaganda. But really, what did you get out of it? He's talking tough to America. Good luck on that one now. You're done. Yeah. The UK is alone now. Trump is not going to take this lightly. No. And that they're leaning towards, and you can see the left is returning back, turning back the clock on Brexit, and essentially going the other way, going back to the one market, the one European market, and everything he's saying we're not going back to pre-Brexit, but joining the European Union. But essentially he's talking about joining the European Union. I don't think this will go down well in the UK. But after watching Albo, this was a stellar performance.
Yeah, but I did find it interesting that the UK press seemed to find that Albanese gave more direction to his people. You know what I mean? I don't know if you picked up that nuance there.
Yeah, I did.
They seem to find that Albanese, was telling Australians what to do and how to preserve fuel and stuff, and they were telling Keir Starmer, like, we've heard all this stuff before. Why don't you tell people what they need to do? So it's almost like they see Albanese as being more of a leader. It's interesting how that kind of works when you kind of listen very closely to how it's been received. But Keir Starmer definitely, I think there's many implications from what he just said there. And he is talking about the UK emerging stronger out of this. Delusion. And he talks about this being a very serious issue as well. But then you see him tie this strength not so much to, this is a country that once had the greatest navy in the world.
Yeah.
And this is a remark that Trump has made. Like, this is a country that doesn't seem to be able to stand on its own feet when it comes to, you look at the UK in the history, they would have been able to secure the Strait of Hormuz by themselves, right?
Yeah.
But now it's just like wimped out. And he's talking about strength as pivoting his renewables. And of course, there's an argument to be made there for energy independence. And in this situation, yes, that would, strengthen you. But if you're looking at the global stage and the message that this sends to regimes like Iran and China and things like this, it shows you that most of Europe is willing to fold.
Yep.
Most of these countries are now willing to fold.
And it's so funny that he tries to portray it as the opposite. He's coming out with the strongman portrayal of himself, like, I am not going to be pushed into a war. I'm not a pusher. It's like, bro, you're delusional. And essentially what's happening is, it's like what we've seen through COVID and that, they don't want a great crisis to go to waste, and they're going to push all their political things that they've always wanted, like going back to the European Union, like all the things that he was actually portraying as good things and pushing as good things and good outcomes and things that they're going to do to better everything is really what they always wanted. He wasn't part of the Brexit movement. They were anti. The Labour movement was anti-Brexit. They were always wanted to be part of the European Union. So they're just pushing their own politics, their own agenda, as if it's the answer to this big problem. And this problem is deep. Like, you think Russia's not looking at this and going, oh, you guys are out alone? Cool. What are you going to do if we hit?
And you bring up Russia, Avi, and it's so different to the stance, like many commentators mentioned this, so different to the stance that the Europeans want America to take in that conflict. You know what I mean? In terms of Ukraine and supporting Ukraine. And the Americans have not really walked away from that, saying, hey, this is your thing, and we're not going to get bullied into doing all these kind of things. The Americans have contributed, and they've said, you got to match us in contributions. Really, that's been the main argument when it comes to that. So you do see the UK. I mean, I can't look at a country like the UK and see it as the same global, like, even a minor, middle power. It's decreasing in its influence in that sense. And again, he's saying, I only care about my British national interest, means looking internally, being this kind of isolationist,
which is so funny. It's like it's the extreme right and the extreme left are meeting on this one point that they're talking about being isolationist, and they are not really thinking into the future. It is so narrow, tunnel vision minded rubbish, because at the end of the day, this is going to affect, but it's like renewables is not going to save you in the long run. And besides for this, this was going to end. This was going to end at some point in the next few weeks, I imagine. And all Britain has gained from this is that they've lost a friend. They've lost somebody that's actually going to back them. And, before Australia, Britain's going to need America. Britain's going to need their friends.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Let's read these super chats. Let's read these super chats, and I reckon we can wrap it up today. We've seen from both. I think the only press conference addressing of the nation that's going to give us the most is Trump. Says he's going to have a whole lot of big announcements. He has an important announcement on the war. I am expecting something big out of that, but I'm also expecting reactions from him, especially to Keir Starmer, because Alba was clever enough at least to stay away from that whole game, although he wasn't under the firing line of Trump nowhere near as much as Keir Starmer was. But I think He was smart enough to say with it. I think Trump's going to have a few choice words to say.
I think so. To Keir Starmer and NATO, especially if he's
and I think Trump might just get angry and pull.
I mean, look, it's a very big possibility that he might pull out. I mean, he's threatened these kind of things before, but this is different.
Yeah, and the way Starmer is acting in direct response to the media, he's prosecuting his fight against Trump to the media and belittling Trump. If I had to bet, but I've lost my bet tonight, I would bet that Trump is going to pull out of. I'm going to pull out. I'm going to pull out. Yeah. I never pull out. Today I'm going to pull out. What do we got here? We got Dran. We're going to read these super chats and end it. What have we got? I hated his smirk during the national address. It was so fake and condescending, as you said, Avi. They pre-recorded this and still went with it. Laugh out loud. He exudes weakness and fragility as PM. Totally agree. Yeah. And you're talking about, obviously, Albanese. That was from before Keir Starmer's addressing of the country, the UK. Addressing the world, essentially. Everyone's been watching those two. The whole internet blew up that everyone's talking. Everyone was expecting more. Baz Dark Horse says, Albo said nothing. Starmer will say nothing. The Jews staged this all for super chats. So true. Thank you for the super chat. Guys, get in your super chats before we close the stream today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure to like it, hit share. We're going to do more of these. We're getting back into our show, by the way. We are getting back on, Tuesday nights.
Tuesday
you can
nights.
Tune in. And we're also going to try to do it on Instagram if I don't stuff up that little technical thing that I had to do. Epoxy Table says, thank you for the super chat, says, I'm already suffering from the cost of living crisis. Bondi happened. Bondi happened, which has massive impact on me personally and to my business, and now it's freaking oil shortage. What next? Give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a kind of never-ending crisis after crisis, or issue after, even domestically, for sure. It's all kind of rolled into the one thing, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, boys. Harry says, sorry, boys. Sorry, boys. Joined just now. So late. Great to have you both back. Why has it been so long? Good question at the right time. Listen, Harry, we're back on. Rukshan was contemplating joining the other side, and it took me a few months to talk him off it. Now he's back with the Jews. But we're back on Tuesday night, so make sure to bookmark Tuesday nights and put it in the calendar. We shall be going live every week. We'll start with Tuesday nights. Mirchi Raps 6373 says Chocky's been wearing sunnies and he lives lately on his lives lately. He's trying to be like Moody, the Leb gangster. I know who you're talking about. He was, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, like if you watch the Sydney Turf Wars, you know who we're talking about, Moody. In fact, I think I was actually before October 7 going to do a thing with Moody on the whole Israel. Anyways, I don't think he has much knowledge on it all except for his tribal stance on it. But you're right. Watching Chocky go from like this anti-Islam thing to suddenly becoming like wanting to be all the Western Sydney boys has been funny. Look, there's clearly something appealing to Chocky. I think there's something more appealing about Chocky than there is that Sam, and he does well on those short videos, but it's all fake. It's all fake and gay, as they say. David says NATO ability to exert power with logistics for us.
I think they're saying that's the power that they have for US.
Oh, for US,
with their logistics, because the US needs access to certain bases around Europe.
Okay.
And also they station certain weapon systems in parts of Europe. I mean, look, I don't think the Europeans are ever going to be like, well, there was a German minister recently, I think the AFD or someone, saying that they should get rid of the 50,000 troops who are hanging around in Germany from the US. But I don't think Europe really wants to do that because they don't have the backbone to protect themselves.
Exactly.
And they need the Patriot. They need the Patriot missile systems. They need all of that because they're terrified of Russia. And Trump's going to call their bluff.
I think Trump's going to pull out. Maybe. I think he's. If it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen pretty soon. Julian says, hypothetically, how do you think J.D. Vance would be handling this conflict in the Middle East if he were president instead of Trump? I don't think, in my opinion, I think J.D. Vance has shown himself to be a coward.
Yeah,
he can't even stand up to. He can't even stand up to his mate Tucker Carlson. So
I can't.
He can't even stand up for his friend Erica Kirk. Like it's a joke.
Yeah, I think Marco Rubio is showing great.
He's showing it. He's showing
great potential for someone that can be a strong Western leader that can make a decision. I think J.D. Vance kind of has the capacity to flip-flop around.
Yeah.
But too much based on public opinion. I think one of the great things about Trump is a lot of people think that he acts based on public opinion and popularity, but he's a bit like Pauline Hanson we were discussing before. When he has a certain mission or a view, he kind of goes with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what leadership is. You can't just base your decisions on public opinion. And I think J.D. Vance has shown a few times now that he is very much swayed by people's
even in
perceptions.
podcasts
and people that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Which is the alarming thing to see because Trump cares about certain individuals, what they say, but we're talking about powerful individuals. Like you said, J.D. Vance can be swayed by
podcasters and groypers who ask him a question at some event. Yeah, he's embarrassing. I don't think J.D. Vance. He's never going to win. Even if he won the Republican nomination, which I don't think he's going to. I think there's already reports that he could see the writing on the wall. I actually think that he's probably getting advice from the Cooker right saying don't run for the next one because they really know he won't win it internally, but they're saying don't win it because Trump's going to ruin the brand and then run in the the 32 or whatever.
But I'm really like warming up to Marco Rubio.
Rubio is just a king. He's grown on me. Chrissy Bohr says, love your work, Avi. Love from Scotland, F. Starmer. Well, we love you too. Thank you for the super chat. And I'm glad that you got to watch the UK Prime Minister on our channel. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's funny.
Maddie says, would you think this would be would you think this will be worse than COVID or completely different? And will there be mandates? So that's what I was trying to explain before, probably clumsily, is that I think it's going to be same, but different. I think the concept, the ideas, it's tried and tested, it works. They realize people can play. They know that if they say, all right, we've got 2 weeks to flatten the curve for a virus, people are going to be skeptical. But if they say, everybody, 2 weeks, you got to stay at home because we've got no petrol, people might go for it. And so I think that, I think if the war drags out a bit, because Australia, I think the UK is in a far better position than we are. That's maybe why he's genuinely calmer than Albo is, although Starmer has Trump going up against him, so I don't know if he's stupidly calm. But I do think that it'll be similar in the way that there will be mandates and the language will be similar, as in we're all in this together, and the concepts are going to be the same. What do you think?
Yeah, look, if it does come down to that, there is going to be certain enforcement, definitely, of rationing based on your car registration, some sort of system to track that. They have to do that. There's no other way you can do that rationing thing really in a meaningful manner, because you can just kind of rock up in different vehicles, whatever it is, right? There's different ways you can get around it. And then the push towards working from home, for sure. Look, this is going to be one of those things, Avi, during COVID, there's a lot of people that it didn't really impact, like lots of people that did work from home, like the laptop class, they kept their jobs, they kept their salaries, and they kept working on their computers. I think we're going to see a similar thing if it does go down that path in relation to this, because this impacts, farmers. This impacts like those kind of people out in the regions more so that don't have access to public transport. So it might be felt more in those areas.
It already is. It already talk to anyone in the country.
Someone that lives I live in the city of Melbourne, right? So I got a tram stop right in front of my apartment. I can catch a tram at the city. I have a major train station here, the City Loop, whatever. The metro tunnel, I have access to that. It's a 2-minute walk. So I can get around even to the outer suburbs if I need to. So there's going to be those haves and have-nots. And really, again, it's going to be people out in the outer suburbs and things like this that really feel the impact of this. But overall, of course, it could impact people in ways that we can't really comprehend as well. Like, it's really hard to say things that we can't imagine being a problem because there's so many things that are related to the supply of diesel, a supply of oil, things like distribution into shopping centers and things like this. So we'd have to keep an eye out on many things and how that would play out. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be exactly like COVID. If it does go down that path, it's going to be something slightly different with the same type of concepts in messaging and PR.
Michael, is it Michelle? That's Michael, yeah. Am I reading wrong? Who knows?
Michael, yes, yeah.
Remember, Iran was a monarchy before 1979, just like England. We could lose our sovereignty here. It looks like you're making it easy for that to happen.
It will be interesting because
the next election,
King Charles and Camilla are visiting Trump like in the next couple of days or weeks. It's going to be very interesting when he talks about Keir Starmer because Trump will not do that.
He will not He will not respect the sanctity of the office.
He might tell the king to make sure
you should
get
rid of him.
He can get rid of Starmer.
Trump Bibi Pahlavi says, I love that one. Just do something right for once and help Trump open the Strait of Hormuz and remove the Islamic regime in place of Shah Pahlavi.
This is not the West of the past, Avi. This is not the great Western empires of the past that had the courage of conviction to, do these type of things. They don't have it in them anymore. These are countries which are captured. They're very much focused on surviving domestically with the populations that they have. A lot of people in these countries who aren't, ethnically inclined to be supportive of these type of issues. I'm saying, if you have a large Muslim population, for instance, in the UK, in Australia, and in France, those people, by default, many of them support Iran.
Yeah.
And they sway the politics in that nation, and that is the future of the West, because the West has to contend with this. Popularity is not about helping. When you talk about the U.S. alliance, and you brought this point up before when they were interviewing people in Northern Territory. They were asking Bangladeshis and stuff about what they think about, the issue with Iran, for instance, and you're going to get a different answer.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what the West has to contend with. So I understand what that comment was saying. Like, why don't they just do this? Why don't they just open up the Strait of Hormuz, help the people of Iran, do this? Like, why don't you just go there and do this? You have the US has already decapitated the ability of the Iranians to really, be as what they were before. So why don't you just open up the Strait of Hormuz? Why don't you use your navies like you've done in the past to do that? But they're not willing to do that.
No. Leon, thank you for the super chat. We just got a few more here. We're going to get through them all, guys. Thank you all for your super chats. Peter Wilson says, you guys are right. USA has not fully pulled out of Ukraine. However, don't you think that Biden did play a big role in that war, so US should support the responsibility? Look, I think it depends how far back also you want to go. There was also the deals that they made previously, which were guarantees. I think Trump's right in the fact that Europe doesn't pull its weight. And the war itself in Ukraine, probably Biden was responsible for a lot of it. The fact that it happened on Biden's watch was the reason why Russia even thought they could do it, was probably because Biden was asleep at the wheel. But does that mean that forever the US should be responsible for it? I think this is going to change things. And I think Trump is really going to start to walk back his America's almost blind support of Europe.
Yeah, I think there's a line of thinking as well that keeping Russia occupied with that particular conflict, for the US at least, it serves their national interests because it kind of just keeps one hand at least of Russia tied behind its back in its own backyard, and they can exert less influence elsewhere. So there is that as well.
Cruel Intention says, for Benji's next pack of noodles. No, Benji's not getting that. No. I'm going to take that off the screen. Thank you for the super chat. That's going towards my $100 that I got to pay Rukshan. Lewis says, Rukshan, please don't do a John Roddick.
Nah, there's no
way.
Speaking
of faking,
I have supported. Genuinely, I've supported President Donald Trump since 2015.
Guys, I was just mucking around. I think that super chat came through when I was saying that you took time off because you were rethinking your position. David says, why haven't the Arab nations secured the area? Look, I think they're going to get involved. I think the UAE now is saying that they will secure it. It is in their national interest, and everything for them relies on that. I know everyone loves to say that this is just an Israel thing. And I think the people that it matters most to is probably the Gulf states, and I think Trump is going to make them carry their weight here. Yeah. And they should.
They are. I think Pakistan is the mediator between Iran and the Gulf states. So a lot of the Gulf leaders have been in Pakistan over the last couple of days, trying to find some type of solution. Look, I think a lot of them would prefer a diplomatic solution where Iran falls on its own sword and plays ball. But if it had to get to they're protecting their national interests, I think a lot of them are actually willing to assert themselves more, for sure.
And last but not least, we have my guy says, but will the government actually force you to stay at home like COVID-19 with 5 reasons to go out, such as exercise, etc.? I don't want to go back. Okay, look, I don't want to freak people out. I don't want to, like, I also don't want to be one of these cookies that the world's going to end. Could it come to a point in which they're going to create restrictions? I don't think it's going to look exactly the same because their excuse would not be this. They don't have the same justifications.
That's right.
They're going to say energy is a problem, so they're going to restrict, one, how much fuel people can buy. 2, there may be restrictions around, I'm just guessing here, so take it like as a grain of salt, but you got to think of it like, what are things that they can enforce that's quite easy that make people end up doing things like stay at home. So, for example, like they will say schools, maybe public schools, but all schools have to be shut down so that kids don't have to travel, parents don't have to travel back and forth. Universities shut down, so everyone's going to be at home. And that means you're going to have kids at home. That means you're going to bring parents back home. They're going to say businesses have to allow you to work from home unless you are a critical, essential worker that cannot be from home. That's the type of stuff I think you're going to see if things don't turn around quite quickly, which it doesn't look like it will. Like, I think this war has another few weeks at least in it. But
yeah, I think restrictive stuff, I really definitely see restrictive type things happening potentially on vehicles, on car use. So it's not like you'll be locked within 5 kilometers. You can walk somewhere you want. You can catch public transport further away. It's not like you're spreading the virus, which is the excuse they used last time. It's not really that. It's a lack
banning
of
schools and making businesses allow you work at home. They'll do that.
Other complexities, So once you do something like that, it does have a flow-on effect, like you said. And that's the thing, right? So it never usually comes in one. So if you do one thing like that, they got to add a few different other aspects to make it all work.
Which is what I was thinking they were doing.
Annoying.
Which is like, the truth is, Antic was right. It was like the first laying the groundwork for understanding that there could be something coming. I thought we were going to be a bit more progressed. I thought they were at minimum going to introduce something today. And it was really a nothing burger. But I do think that it is coming because the thing is, we don't have oil. We won't have enough oil. We're going to run out of oil. He's assuming all those shipments are coming at the moment. I don't believe for a minute they're all coming.
No, well, if you listen to Starmer, Avi, like he basically said, even if the conflict ends today,
Worse.
It doesn't solve the situation in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
Because like what Trump said yesterday, if the US just pulls out, they've achieved their goals. They've got rid of because what was Trump's stated goals, right? It was the military decapitation of the Iranian regime, mostly. Regime change was the
decapitation
if it happened, but the main goal was the decapitation of the Iranian regime
and the ballistic missiles and
Trump and Rubio. They're now saying that that's mostly been achieved.
I
Trump
don't think
said yesterday that they'll walk away from that area, and then it's up to the rest of the countries to figure out the Strait of Hormuz, and that means negotiating with whatever of the new Iranian regime, whoever they are, negotiating with that, and that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So really, this is a issue that's going to go in for a few more months. And the UK Prime Minister was at least a bit more honest in that regard. But like you said, it feels like they're more prepared to deal with the oil crisis than what we are in Australia.
Let's pray that the Iranian regime falls, because I can guarantee you once they fall and the Strait of Hormuz opens up and all the Iranian oil opens to the markets, the price of petrol at the pump is going to drop much lower than it was even before all this drama. That would be the best outcome. But with pussies like Starmer, I don't know. I hope we get there. Last but not least, we read this one?
No.
No, another one came through. Sigh, just what we need in 2026. More dirty crude energy coming down the pipeline. Richard, give me the crude right now. That's what we need. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Tuesday nights, make sure to join us from now on. Head to followavi.com. You can check out all my socials. Subscribe to the mailing list. We send the emails out right as we go live. Subscribe to all the socials. And Rukshan, where can people find your stuff?
Guys, you can find me at deportavi.com. I kid you not, that domain is real, deportavi.com, and it'll take you to my socials there on Facebook. But look, you can find me on X and a few other platforms as well, YouTube. Join me there, Instagram as well. I'll be posting there soon. But yeah, deportavi.com. I might revert that to point towards a official, like a bio page for myself.
Yeah, you should do that.
Go to.
I love
deportavi.com.
I love it. Good night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to smash that like button and that share button before you leave so people know where to join us.